all 10 locations.
That's right. That'd be great if everyone at Kagan Bottle dressed up as Tony Kanja.
Oh my God.
Tony Kanja everywhere.
All the employees, like every year on Halloween, he requests this of us. We don't know why. And it is the best Halloween costume. Oddly,
Yeah.
we all love it.
Fantastic.
I'm going to be a sexy Tony Kanja from Keg and Bottle. So last night, boy, I'll tell you what, there was no scaries after that Baltimore beatdown the Detroit Lions took. They came back and had themselves a game against the Raiders at home.
Didn't it feel like that should have been a 30-point win for the Lions?
Yeah.
It only ended up being 12.
Look, there were some mistakes made there, at least in the first half. Things got a little slow, a little dicey, but there was never a moment where I was like, the Lions are not going to win this game.
Because the Raiders showed you absolutely nothing. But was it 3 turnovers for the Lions in the game? One of them was the pick six. That really is why the score was as close as it was. But man, oh man, am I happy as a Niners fan seeing Jimmy G do this for someone else.
Oh, God. I mean, watching the Raiders last night, I almost thought, is this the worst team in the league? I mean, it's just everything looks so out of sorts. And look, I'm a Bronco fan, and I have seen a horrible team play the past season and a half. But, God, the Raiders just look so out of sorts.
What's so crazy about the Raiders is they're not completely out of the running yet, even though they've looked so terrible this season. Like they not very easily, but I mean, a couple more breaks go their way. They could have been a 4-4 football team waking up this morning.
Yeah.
Which is weird to say because they dropped to 3-5. And you're right. The way they've played in many of their games this season, they feel like they could be in contention for the worst football team in the National Football League. But then you put the shoe on the other foot. You say, yeah, but Josh Jacobs is like a real baller. And Devontae Adams is a real baller. And Jimmy G doesn't always look that bad. He has those games and those moments, certainly, but not always. So you can sort of squint and see an argument for him. But Josh McDaniels, man, he's lost the Raiders a couple of games earlier this season that they now need to be just anything resembling a playoff caliber team, which, I mean, we're a far cry from that right now. And he's really made too many of those mistakes that are incumbent on head coaches to get right. Now, on the other side of the docket, Dan Campbell, he's hitting all the right chords.
Mm-hmm. I love that guy.
Dude, he is just a great motivator. He's a great game planner. He's a really smart football man. I think that's an undervalued part of what makes him great and what makes the Lions great. That was a smart game plan at home against the Raiders, who could be dangerous, like we just discussed.
And then you see a Jahmyr Gibbs who really has his breakout game. Fantasy managers across the country have been waiting for this. Now, David Montgomery has looked so good that the Lions haven't really needed Jahmyr Gibbs to do anything. But last night, with David Montgomery missing the last 2 weeks, Jahmyr Gibbs, who also had a game last week in the blowout loss, but he has his coming out party, and the game flowed through him. And every single time he touched the ball, Raiders defenders went the other way because they didn't want to try to tackle him because A, he can make you look foolish because of how quick-footed he is, and B, he can run right through you because he's also pretty damn powerful. So when you look at the Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs comparisons and who went first in the draft, which was Bijan Robinson, I'm looking at the two of them and having them on pretty even playing field. Bijan just makes cooler catches. That's the only difference I see.
Yeah, Fletch, look, that Detroit team for me is just a fun watch. And I think that last week, getting that beat down from Baltimore, a bit of an anomaly, if whatever they were found out, or maybe it's just an off week, whatever it was. But Detroit has a real team, and on both sides of the ball, because if you're talking about scary, that defense was putting some hurt on the Raiders yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Anzalone and the other linebacker, obviously, what Aiden Hutchinson has done for that rush group up front. They're bad boys up front.
Absolutely. And you've talked about Jimmy G's play for the Raiders. Some of that bad play was because he was running scared. Yeah. I mean, running scared. There were so many passes that were just tossed up to the air. Just get it out there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of them, yes, overthrown. Others were just overthrown because he had to get rid of it.
Oh, yeah. When you don't have time in the pocket, or you don't perceive that you have time in the pocket, everything changes. Like, you rush through your progressions. You're not taking your time. You're uncomfortable just trying to climb. You saw it a couple of times. It was actually a clean pocket, but he would step up after the ends got rushed upfield, and he didn't trust that there wasn't going to be interior pressure. So he would escape out and then you cut off half the field. It's very difficult to throw back across the field because there's a lot of bodies in the way to get those throws. So now you only have 2 receivers, whereas when you stay in the pocket, you have access to the full field. It was a bad game for the Raiders. It was a good enough game for Detroit. I do think that there's a part of Jared Goff. I really want to get behind him full-throatedly and just be like, this guy this guy is a really impressive quarterback.
Good Lord,
but I can't.
So early.
No, and I think last night showed why Detroit probably is not a Super Bowl team yet. And even in a win like they won, it should have been a 30-point win. So if you look at it and think, well, 3 turnovers, a playoff team isn't going to let you get away with that, which is why I think they struggled against the Ravens, which is why I think if they get into games with teams that are vastly superior to the Raiders, they don't really have much of a shot. Because if you turn the ball over that many times, if you're careless with it, I think Detroit's leading the NFL in red zone turnovers. I think I heard that on the broadcast last night. That's inexcusable, and that won't let you go further. So the next step in the culture building that Dan Campbell admittedly has done an incredible job with is getting over that hump, which that's a lot to do here in the next 8 weeks of time.
Yeah, but you know what Dan Campbell is instilling in this team, and you can see it out on the field. You can see it in the players' faces. They believe they can win. And they believe that they can beat any team, I think, and that's an intangible that not every team has. So it's a lot of teams, they get behind and they can't catch up, or they're playing scared or whatever it is. Detroit has a different feeling about the team, and it could be one of these teams that if it gets into the postseason, which looks like they will, they could all of a sudden make a run just because. I mean, look at the Diamondbacks, the Diamondbacks who aren't supposed to win, and they just go, yeah, I don't know. We got nothing else to do but win, so we'll just win. Except last night. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. 3-1 loss to the Rangers. And the Rangers, by the way, remain perfect on the road in the postseason so far.
Right.
That's just been absolutely nuts.
A hell of a stat.
It really is. I mean, that's exactly what you want to be.
Well, unless you have home field advantage.
Right. right. And you can make it hard on yourself. You're going to be celebrating World Series on the road in front of their fans instead of your own if it continues. But either way, winning a World Series would be great. The crazy thing about the Super Bowl or the World Series is it is a war of attrition. I mean, the Rangers and the Diamondbacks aren't the 2 best teams in Major League Baseball. They're just not. But they are the teams that have outlasted everybody. They are the teams that have found a way to win in tight spots and obviously showed up when the bell tolls. Those are the teams that represent championships. That's what it takes. It's outlasting your opponent sometimes. It's being healthier down the stretch of the season. Detroit, they had some bumps and bruises going into Baltimore. They looked healthier last night against the Raiders, and you see the results. Also, again, rookie Jahmyr Gibbs. It's week 8. You need to start contributing, especially if you're a skill position player, especially at the running back position. It is so plug and play for so many of these guys. We need to see production. All of a sudden, he becomes this is a milestone game for Jahmyr Gibbs.
189 yards. That's not bad.
No, that's all right.
That'll do.
You know what I would say though? Detroit, don't ever wear those uniforms.
What?
Oh my God.
The grays with the
You didn't
Honolulu
like
blue helmet?
God. I like the blue. I don't like that logo.
Oh,
Ugh.
really?
Yeah, did you like it?
I really like their uniforms
Ugh.
last night.
I can't tell you how I wouldn't have even thought about it unless it didn't come up in the broadcast last night. I pay so little attention to uniforms. It never dawns on me. And then Joe Buck was like wearing their grays and the Honolulu blue helmets.
I did say that a lot.
Yeah.
He said Honolulu blue a
He
lot.
loves it.
Is that a color?
I don't.
It's their color scheme.
I don't mind the color scheme. It was that. Well, I don't know. Was it supposed to look like a car logo from Detroit? I don't know what it looked like. It was
a
odd.
shape.
So
yeah, it almost looked like a casino logo to me.
One other thing that was mentioned, Troy Aikman said it on the broadcast last night, is Dan Campbell, he and Dan had a talk before the game, and Dan Campbell was saying that, look, we could probably add pieces to this team to make it better, but I'm super hesitant to mess with what we have in the building right now because of how good our culture has been, and because of TD, what you were saying, where everyone on that team believes in Dan Campbell and believes they can win. Rich, I would ask you, is it a risk bringing in more talented pieces to having a culture as good as Detroit has, which I would argue is up there at the top of the NFL, and maybe messing that up even with more talented guys coming in?
it depends on the people you bring in. And this is when you really have to rely on your pro personnel scouting department to understand the mental makeup of your team and not screw it up and bring a guy in who's going to be selfish, a guy who's going to, like he was talking about, like Dan Campbell was talking to Troy about, ruining the collaboration that's happening in Detroit. I mean, if he's saying that, it means that he's working with scouts and pro personnel people that really need to do a better job of earmarking players that fit their culture, because that shouldn't be a concern. You should feel free to add players. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe we're misinterpreting it because, again, it's through a story from a guy who heard the story from a guy. But I'm hoping that the goal is going to be Dan Campbell comes up to whoever's office in Detroit and goes, hey, I like this guy, and this guy. And somebody goes, well, these two don't fit our program. And I'll tell you why. It's because of this. It's because of this. This didn't work out here with this team. And we run a very similar system. So those two are off the table. Do you want me to target this guy? Yeah. Go get that guy. Like, hopefully that conversation's happening in Detroit, because culture over everything. Culture over everything. If the New England Patriots proved anything, it was if you put the team ahead of everybody else, you can have success for decades in the NFL.
I'm glad you brought up the Patriots, because what I was going to say is that you almost need a piece like Tom Brady in order to bring in other pieces that might not fit exactly your culture, because he changes people into the culture, right? Like adding a Randy Moss to the Patriots team worked so well because he immediately bought into Tom Brady. Now, I don't know if Jared Goff's that guy. I don't know if the Lions have that guy, to be completely honest. It might be Dan Campbell is that guy. But you almost need someone on the field to be able to meld people in.
Well, I think on the defensive side, Aiden Hutchinson is becoming that guy for them. I think on the offensive side, you're right. I don't know. Like I was talking about earlier, Goff is highly reliable, and then he just has those hiccup plays, like throwing the ball inexplicably to a Detroit defender when it looked like he was just trying to get rid of it, and then Peters taking it to the house for a pick six. It's just like, what are you doing, man?
Like Marcus Peters 5 years ago, you'd be like, oh yeah, all right, that makes sense. He's one of the best cornerbacks.
Not even
in the game.
because
now
he was just trying to get rid of it. Like the ball should have been thrown a mile out of bounds. You're outside the pocket. All it needs to do is pass the line of scrimmage at that point. It doesn't even need to be. You could throw that thing 20 feet above the field. Mm-hmm. It's not intentional grounding once you're outside the pocket, as long as the ball travels beyond the line of scrimmage. It was bonkers because nobody was in the vicinity. He threw it to Marcus Peters. It was so ridiculous.
No, you're right. You're 100% correct. However, if you look at a Jared Goff and go, well, how would he stack up to a Brock Purdy, you are putting up on a pedestal? Not you in particular, but I mean, people in general putting up on a pedestal. Look how great this guy is. I still think I have more confidence in Goff than I have in Purdy.
Yeah. I mean, look, what's crazy, right? We've seen Goff for longer than Purdy.
Wow, did that just happen right now?
What's
you
that?
Just said same.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of people whose resolve have been shaken by what we've seen over the past 3 weeks from Brock Purdy. You have to be able to roll with the punches in the NFL. And he hasn't been able to through adversity, and the first adversity you've seen so far. But yeah, back to Goff. The leadership, I think, is there. I think the problem is he's one of those guys, kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side, who when things aren't perfect, like absolutely perfect, or even in the plays where he should make the right decision, but oddly doesn't, like you can end up into a mess where it's a closer game than it should be. And it almost happened last night in Detroit. All right, after the game, there were even more storylines tumbling out of this one, because on the Raiders side, even though they lost and the Detroit Lions won, Davante Adams, I don't know how much longer he's going to be a Raider. We got hours until the trade deadline hits.
One catch last night,
and he was targeted a bunch.
Yeah, but
I
mean, sort of targeted.
Yeah,
he had a wide open touchdown down the sideline that Jimmy just overthrew him on.
You guys tell me.
Two.
You guys tell me. What does it sound like Davante is thinking? Here's what he sounded like post-game.
Yeah, he's thinking, why am I here? I mean, how could he not be? He wanted to go to a team and win, and it just has not happened. It's been the complete opposite.
When Davante Adams was accepting of the trade proposal to go to the Raiders, it was for two reasons. One was obviously to win some hardware. He was seeing it was the end of the line with Aaron Rodgers. He wanted out of Green Bay. And if Rodgers isn't going to be there, well, then fine. I'll go a different route. I'll find a different quarterback to play with. And so he figured he had a chance to go play with, second reason, his quarterback from college, who he trusts, Derek Carr.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? The Raiders are going in the wrong direction. So a playoff run does not seem feasible right now. And Derek Carr is in New Orleans. So both the reasons why you came to Las Vegas 2 years ago are gone, extinguished. It's so if I'm Devontae Adams' agent, I'm calling him this morning. It's what, 7:00 in Nevada? Maybe it's same time. I forget. I'm getting on the phone and be like, hey, Devontae, I'm so sorry to wake you up. Listen, I'm going to start pounding the phones for the next 6 hours. Just say yes. Just say yes. That's all they. And it should be the quickest yes of his life. He should just be like, yes, and then go back to sleep, let his agent get to work and get him out of Las Vegas.
Now that's got to be a yes, but right? Yes, but these teams only.
I don't think there's a but in it. I don't.
I think there's a but if it's the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's a but if it's the New England Patriots.
But hang on.
Well,
why on earth? Why on earth would the Arizona
No,
Cardinals?
they wouldn't.
No.
But who?
It's going to be a contender.
What are the list of teams you would think?
Okay, teams that are needy of a wide receiver right now that could help them in the near term. I would say going to the not the Patriots, absolutely not. But there have been some injury situations with Miami. The Chiefs are always open for business. The 49ers, I would say he would want to go to. And by the way, that makes sense because you stay out west. You're also joining an NFC team, so you're getting out of the conference. If you're the Raiders, that one makes a lot of sense. Debo's hurt. We don't know when he's going to be back with this fractured clavicle. So there are teams that make sense. And by the way, the 49ers have a ton of cap room.
Like 35 million.
Now maybe they should go after like a Josh Johnson at quarterback. I was thinking, or maybe
they need a corner.
maybe they could go after like Robert Griffin III. Sign him
corner, not quarter.
He's one of the top 32 in the world.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said. That's what he said. How about this scenario? What are the chances that Devontae calls up his old buddy, who, by the way, basically took his entire Green Bay team over to New York? And all of a sudden he goes, hey, you know what? I'm going to be back this season. We're going to be good enough to get into the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers calls up his friend and says, come on back to New York.
Well, what would be crazy is he goes there and he's like, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to play with Aaron Rodgers, right? Just like how when he left Green Bay to go to Las Vegas, I'm going to play with Derek Carr. Hasn't worked out. Derek's like, hey, listen, they think I suck, so I got to go. And then he gets to New York, and then all of a sudden, Aaron goes, yeah, it turns out the ankle hurts a lot. Yeah. I'm going to retire. And so he got stuck with Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell in Las Vegas.
Kind of be funny.
And then he gets stuck with Zach Wilson in New York. It's just like womp womp womp. We got a 26-14 win in Detroit. Lions beat the Raiders last night, Monday Night Football. Lions now improved to 6-2 on the year, 3-5 record for the Las Vegas Raiders. And we were talking about it. Devontae Adams seems like he's open for business. In Major League Baseball, 3-1 victory for the Texas Rangers. 2-1, they lead this series now. Chase Field is where the next one's going to be played. Arizona smarting after the loss. They were able to pound the Rangers Saturday night, 9-1. So they were handed a similar end by the Rangers. Not quite as dynamic an offensive night for the Rangers last night, but Corey Seager had a big shot. The bullpen really helped out late in the game for the Rangers. That's the way that one goes.
Did you see that call at all? I had to catch it on the replay. In the ninth inning, there was a strike called on a pitch that stopped a rally. Look how far outside the plate that ball is.
Yeah. The robot umps thing, like. If baseball was more popular, we'd already be there.
I feel bad, but I had to get the score of the game this morning.
It was about 10:30 last night. I was like, oh my God.
It's so off my radar, and apparently it's off of most of America's radar. That game one of the World Series was the least watched game one in World Series history.
Yeah, and it's not going to improve. Look, the baseball's got a huge problem, and we've been talking about this for years and years and years, and baseball did so little to fix it. We'll get into this a little bit later on in the show, but it really is a problem for baseball. This is an exciting sport when it wants to be, but it's just, man, it just doesn't have the national narratives and attention that it used to have.
It's just bizarre to see that less than 10 million people were averaged across one World Series game.
I have a theory about it, and it's the same theory I have for the NBA, and it has nothing to do with the amount of games played. We'll get back to that conversation, but speaking of the NBA, there's a new big three. Now, this hasn't worked in a long time, like a long time, but maybe, just maybe,
You could
it'll
almost
work.
qualify it as a big four.
It could be a big four. It's definitely a big three. It could be a big four. I'm with you on that one. We'll get into it coming up next. But first, I want to talk to you guys about the amount of weight, the staggering amount of weight I've lost recently. Okay, I'm down 35 pounds exactly on the nose. I've been hovering in the mid 260s. I started out at 301 pounds when I signed up with sdfatloss.com. This has been a miracle. I mean, honestly, I remember when I first started this, I was talking to Annie about it. She jumped on board too, by the way. She's down like 15 pounds. It's pretty impressive what it's done for her. But for me specifically, she was like, I didn't realize how fat you were. And I was like, thank you. Is that a compliment? I'm not sure. But
Funny, Kendall said the same thing.
yeah, because all of a sudden you start wearing clothes that she bought for you like 2 years ago. And she goes, oh my God, I haven't seen that shirt. I thought you threw it away. I'm like, no, it just didn't fit.
Yep. Run into that same problem, or I guess not problem, where Sarah goes, did you buy a new shirt? I'm like, nah, it's just been in there like 2 years.
Yeah. SCFatLoss.com is where you can find out more information and connect with our weight loss team, Wayne and Chloe. They'll work with you too. Super easy. You have a consultation to start this whole thing. You see if it's right for you. And it really does feel to me like it's going to be right for everyone because you're eating real food. There's no gimmicks here. It's just a little bit of discipline and a lot of accountability, and they help with that side of it. You actually have somebody who's interested in your weight loss alongside your journey. They're going to give you helpful hints. I love the videos that they send to my email. I watch those in the morning. That's been really helping keeping me on path. And then doing it with some friends, like this group over here. Ben's down 40 pounds, Travis over 30 pounds. I'm down 35 pounds. We've done it together. The group text, taking pictures of the scale, cheering each other on. If you got a spouse who needs help, if you need to lose some weight and you got a buddy who can jump on with you, get over to sdfatloss.com. And when you get over there, tell them that we sent you, right? Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, you heard about it on the radio show. They sure would love to hear it, and we would too. Okay, sdfatloss.com. Coming up next, the NBA's Big Three, maybe Big Four. That's next.
We got a new big 3 or 4 in the NBA. We'll talk about it next.
This update is presented by DraftKings. We'll begin in the NFL. Monday Night Football last night. Raiders fall to the Lions 26-14. Rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs totals 189 yards and a rushing touchdown in the game. Week 8 in the books. Week 9 gets going Thursday night. Titans Steelers in Pittsburgh. One more NFL note. The trade deadline is today at 1 p.m. Pacific. It's been quiet so far. Doesn't mean something won't happen. Devontae Adams could be on the move. There's a reporter out of Minnesota saying Jameis Winston might be coming to the Vikings. Who knows? All talk so far. Locally, Aztecs basketball played their exhibition game last night at Viejas Arena. Fresh off that national championship run, the Aztecs beat Cal State San Marcos 81-50. Non-conference schedule starts next Monday. Fullerton coming to town. That will officially open up the 2023-2024 season. Tickets are available for banner night at goaztecs.com. World Series, Rangers win Game 3 in Arizona last night, 3-1. They take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 in Arizona tonight at 5. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with code SPORTS because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
Big Seating and Fletch, San Diego Sports 760, and we have a chance for you to win $1,000 every single day. All you have to do is listen for the keyword and then take that keyword over to sportssd.com. Presented by Loan Pronto. Stop paying insane rates on your credit cards. Loan Pronto can help you tap the equity in your home so you can be credit card debt-free in less than a week. LoanPronto.com. It's LoanPronto.com. And we're going to talk about the NBA here, possibly a new big 3, possibly a big 4 here in the NBA. However, breaking news. Yep. Yeah, go ahead and get that sounder.
Breaking news.
Okay, good. This is a very big deal. Just saw this.
Intamin's Donuts has a new flavor.
They do?
I don't know. I'm just assuming.
That would have superseded this. Kim Kardashian and Skims is now the official underwear partner of the NBA.
That's not breaking.
Did you already know this?
Yeah, it was yesterday, morning.
Oh, I didn't see it till right now.
It was during our show yesterday.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it's breaking for me because I just read it right now, which I thought, why?
Why not?
I just seems a little odd.
She wants more male models.
So that's the next push for Skims is male models only. I know the Nick Bosa thing, but I guess I don't know.
There's
I don't
plenty more fruit baskets out there.
She also has a new bra that's out where the nipples are built into the bra. So like when you wear a shirt, you see it like it's cold outside, which I always thought that women didn't want that. And now they do. I mean, I feel like this is marketed towards the men. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Wait.
Yeah, like poking through.
So it's
like
gonna be
it's
like
always cold.
Friends circa 2000, 24/7?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Are you in or are you out?
I'm in.
I'm also in.
Leave my headlights on.
Battery will go dead though, man. Can't just leave them on all the time. So a new big three in the NBA. Good, bad, indifferent.
So James Harden, this came down late last night. James Harden will join the Los Angeles Clippers with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook, which is why we've kind of been teasing big for ? Russell Westbrook obviously has not been himself over the last few years, and James Harden hasn't really been himself in the last few years either. Like this is a little odd to me that this is happening, and I don't know that it's even going to help the Clippers necessarily. But now they have an all-star team from 5 years ago, and they're starting 5.
Yeah, let me try to make sense of it for you. I was thinking about this when I saw the trade go down. So Russell Westbrook was a washout from the Lakers last year and was traded to the Clippers.
He's been horrible for 2.5 years now.
Well, that's not true, because if you're watching the Clippers down the stretch, Russell Westbrook played well for them. He really did. I mean, this is not even subjective. Objectively, he was a big part of their late season resurgence. And so there's something to be said about culture. We were just talking about with the Detroit Lions a second ago. When you have a good culture, you can take a player who doesn't fit other places and make them work. You mentioned Randy Moss-Fletch going to the Patriots. Obviously, he was considered a problem child leaving Oakland at the time. And New England found a way to rein him in and get great production out of him. Westbrook, it kind of felt like the same thing happened with him to a much lesser value. I mean, Randy Moss to the Patriots was like, he became a game breaker. Russell Westbrook was more of like a really quality defender, and he was giving them some offensive buckets when needed. He was a little more clutch, I should say, with the Clippers than he was with the Lakers. The problem is James Harden is a very different nut to crack. And I do mean that. I think it's all upstairs. I think he probably can still play, but he's got to allow himself to transition and condition his mind into being just a helper outer. Like, you're not going to be the star of the show anymore. You're not going to be James Harden, who's ball dominant in Houston for all those years that made him a Hall of Famer one day, where you're dribbling the ball 2,000 times a game. You're going to get spot shots. Like, that's what you're going to do. You're going to come off the bench sometimes.
And can he adjust to that? That's the issue. Because now they got 4 guys who all have been ball dominant at one point in their career, between Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. Like, who's going to give it up? And who becomes option A? And do the other 3 accept that?
Well, I mean, that's where the rub is. That's where the problem lies. I mean, look, I'm sorry. We saw it here in San Diego with the Padres, or at least we think that's what we see. You have too many people who maybe there's too many egos in the way. That's causing some issues. That could cause problems there. What was the Laker team? God, it was back in 2007-ish.
Kobe Bryant.
No, well, I don't know. I'll look it up. There has been a number of teams, but that one always stands out to me.
Talking about was it Dwight Howard and the guy who was coaching the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets?
Jason Kidd?
Yeah, no, it wasn't Jason Kidd.
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Nash was a Laker, and they brought in a big man. It was a super team, but only
out of
by
Utah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but only by name value only. It just didn't work. It felt like you had too many cooks in the kitchen. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And in this situation, I think it's probably the best opportunity for it work, but it really comes down to where James Harden's headspace is.
Well, with James Harden, it hasn't worked lately. And he's joined a couple of super teams here lately, most recently the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That didn't work. And then he gets moved to the Sixers with Joel Embiid. That didn't really work. And so now he's with the Clippers, and we'll see. I mean, I guess I'm rooting for it. I guess if I have to pick an NBA team, I'm probably a Clippers fan because I really like Kawhi Leonard. There you go.
Well, here's the thing. The comparison to the Padres clubhouse, I think, is apt. And I thought that was smart to bring it there, TD, because Xander Bogaerts, for example, was signed this offseason. and he was supposed to become a clubhouse leader. And Manny Machado, I mean, this is my opinion. And also from things that I've heard, I mean, look, I don't want to act like, hey, this is my sourced reporting, but you hear whispers around the water cooler about how Machado resented that. Like he didn't want somebody to come who had less time in Major League Baseball than he had, telling him what to do or following his lead. Also, an outsider. I've been with this culture in San Diego, helping foster growth here, winning some games in the postseason, doing some special things with this fan base. And you're going to come in and be my leader now? Yeah, fat chance. I mean, the World Series credentials are real, and Bogarts has been deeper into the postseason than Manny Machado has ever dreamed of being. However, when we talk about culture, when you bring a new piece into a franchise, sometimes it's not even the person you're bringing into the franchise that you got to worry about. It's whatever culture is set in the clubhouse or locker room that you're bringing that piece into. So James Harden may actually be like in the right mental space. Like, okay, finally out West, this is where I want to be. LA, this is a big market.
This where he went to high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Like maybe he's all set, but all of a sudden Russell Westbrook's like, get him the hell out of here.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes that comes with age where, look, these superstars, these athletes, you have to have a bit of a chip on your shoulder.
Yeah.
You have to be able to have so much confidence that you're going to go out and win games. That's how you become a superstar. But as you get older, and I'm sure some of them are younger as well, or have this feeling when you're younger, but you got to be a little humble at it, and then also be able to step back and go, look, the common goal here is to win, not just about padding my stats or making sure that my bank is full. I want to go win championships and play ball. Yeah. So, I mean, if they're able to do that and work together, well, then they're going to be unstoppable.
So this Woj bomb came down in the middle of the night last night, and so everyone's phone kind of probably lit up at the same time. And when mine did, I actually woke up around midnight last night, and I turned over and I looked, and it was buzzing, and it said trade, trade, trade. I had like 4 different apps that said trade on it. And I was praying it was something in the NFL.
Right.
And it was freaking NBA news. And I was like, damn it, I'm going back to bed.
The NFL has been relatively quiet.
Okay.
So quiet.
Let's give the only update so far. We got a tiny little acorn dropped from an oak tree. We got a tiny little acorn that we're going to give to you coming up next. It's the only thing we've got to go off of right now. By the way, I hate acorns. My mother-in-law, she has
tell me about it.
She's got an oak tree in her backyard.
It's an Italian thing.
Okay, no, it's not an Italian. I do not think it's an Italian. I think that's figs.
Sure.
I think we discussed that.
They might love oak.
But the acorns, they fall down, and then you're out there barefoot because dog's got to pee or something, and then you step on the acorns.
Oh God.
And like
it's nature's Lego.
it's the worst.
I was just gonna say better or worse than a Lego.
Yeah. It's the same. It's honestly the same, especially when you drive it into your heel.
Oh,
foot
or like
pain.
the little cap with the God.
Foot pain is the worst pain. Which brings me to this: the Good Feet store, right? If you're dealing with foot pain or ankle pain or knee pain or hip pain or back pain, if you stepped on an acorn before and you're like, enough is enough, okay? I want you to go to the Good Feet store because
if only I had something protecting these arches.
I know what could protect them: arch supports from the Good Feet store. So these things are super easy. They slide right into your shoe. Whatever footwear you use, they'll fit them. I mean, house slippers to work boots, they can fit in whatever you're wearing. And you wear them enough, what you're going to find is all of that lower body joint pain just melts away. That's been my experience. I played in the NFL for 6 years. My back was a mess after I finished up. My knees were shot. I tore my MCL in my right knee more times than I can remember. And also, you don't even realize it, but as you're walking around and you're accommodating for all this pain, your posture isn't as good as it used to be. So when you go to the Good Feet store, they measure your feet, they balance test you, they check out exactly the way you're standing, if you favor one side or the other, and then they give you the try before you buy experience. You walk around the store, you can buy footwear from there as well. And then when you walk out, you have these arch supports. And within a week's time, I started noticing a big drop in the amount of pain that I was waking up with in the morning, in my lower back especially. And then all of a sudden, months later, I'm like, well, it's gone. It's gone. I mean, intermittent at most. And then a year out now. I mean, it's been over a year now since I've been wearing these arch supports. It's been fantastic. Goodfeet.com to check out where a store is near you. They have 200 plus around the United States and overseas. So there's one near you, I promise. Make your appointment today. Coming up next, the only trade story we've heard so far out of the NFL on the other side. A running back who is not going anywhere, a cornerback who's on the move. That's all next. If you're listening to us on the free iHeartRadio app, we appreciate it. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch with you this morning, as we are every single weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. And that free iHeartRadio app, honestly, it's where I listen to all my music. It's where the kids listen to all their music. I'm constantly getting requests now from our 8-year-old. It's really awesome. It's free to download.
Dad, play Doja Cat.
Yeah, I mean, I'll listen to music, radio, and podcasts on that thing. I'll do it. Yeah, I will do it.
Don't you bother TD with the good times.
That's right.
He'll listen to that damn free iHeartRadio app.
Dad,
Listen.
can you play WAP?
WAP.
You know what I ask for?
Yeah.
Play Lainey Wilson.
Yeah. She got a dumb
Yeah,
truck.
because coming up on the show today, we have a chance for you to win a pair of tickets to go see Lainey Wilson at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. That's happening August 23rd. You can go to livenation.com for tickets and info, or just keep listening for your chance to win.
Yeah, listen, check it out also. If you are on the free iHeartRadio app or you download it, please share a link with a friend. The best way to help this show is sharing it with others. So if you like it, pass along a link. We would really appreciate that. Speaking of passing along anything, in the NFL, we haven't really been handed very much information ahead of the trade deadline, which is 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Pacific. I don't know if I'm pissed.
Yeah, why are you
I feel like
angry?
there could be a flurry of moves, though. Honestly, it's going to start happening at the end of our show. Because think about the end of our show is noontime on the East Coast, 4 hours away from the trade deadline. It is going to start picking up here this morning. So far, very little has been coming our way in terms of actual trade talks. But the Bears, they've made it clear to their top corner, Jalen Johnson. They've given his agent permission to seek a new home after the team and player were unable to agree to a new contract.
Niners, please.
They're a 2-win football team. The Bears are definitely amid that rebuild. Johnson is too good to be there, and they can't work out the contract. So I agree with you. I think the Niners could be a good landing spot.
You move Lenore to the slot and let Jalen Johnson come in and be your top cornerback alongside Travarius Ward. Like, all of a sudden, your secondary, which is the biggest weakness on this team, becomes one of your bigger strengths.
Now, you know what's weird is for whatever reason, I just have this feeling the Niners do nothing. Nothing changes with the Niners.
They'll make a move. It's not going to be a big splashy move. Like, it's not going to be Devontae Adams or Justin Jefferson, but they'll do something to add to this defense and maybe offensive line.
How about this from Robert Saleh? I mean, this is the Jets head coach who has watched now Kyle Wilson and Aaron Rodgers under siege. Aaron Rodgers for 4 plays, but Kyle Wilson the rest of the way under siege for. He was
Zach
like,
Wilson.
I would like. So thank you, Zach Wilson, Kyle Wilson. Zach Wilson under siege. This is what he said. I would like reinforcements on the offensive line,
please. What's the owner's name? What's the owner's name?
Woody Johnson.
Please, Woody, green light something for me.
I would like reinforcement.
The Giants refusing to remove Saquon Barkley from their roster. So he's on an expiring deal. They got a 1-year, $10+ million contract signed with Saquon. And they're like, yeah, we're good. He's the face of our franchise. Literally, that is from Josina Anderson. That's her source report, that he is the face of our franchise. He's going nowhere. So after spending $40 million on Daniel Jones per year for the next 4 and cracking off another $10 million to Saquon Barkley and starting the season really wobbly, they're not looking to move on from Barkley.
So are they going to pay him this offseason? This is the exact same question I had about the Padres at the trade deadline. If you're not going to be able to afford Blake Snell moving forward, why would you not get something for him now? Which you can get something for Saquon Barkley now. And I'm not like a fan of the Giants, so it's not going to give me a visceral reaction, but it's the same logic. I don't understand general managers.
Okay, well, Rich, I feel like you can speak to this. You grew up out in New York. You played out in New England. So, I mean, know at least the area. Yeah. But, I mean, is there something that New York is looking at this going, you cannot decimate this team because the city will implode?
Well, no, I don't think it's that. I think it's 2 things. I think there's reluctance on Saquon Barkley's part to leave New York because he wants to stay in a large market. And he also realizes that he's playing with a coach who doesn't mind featuring the run game. Like, if he goes somewhere else and he has a down year, I don't think you're going to find a team out there who's desperate enough at this point in the season to just all of a sudden switch what they're doing and feature Saquon Barkley in their offense the way the Giants have to. I mean, think about if you're Saquon, they're paying me $10 million a year. They signed this lousy contract with a quarterback who's underwhelming. they're going to have to re-sign me if they want to even have a heartbeat of a fan base coming up. So I think it's very tactical from his standpoint. Another running back who's not going anywhere, Derrick Henry.
Another dumb decision in my mind.
Well, but you can't move him. He never restructured this deal, so he's owed like this $5.5 million this season. Does anybody want to swallow that for 8 games? It's just it's not a movable contract.
And it's not Derrick Henry of 2 years ago. It's Derrick Henry in 2023, which has been a little underwhelming. One note coming out of a Minnesota writer, and I'm going to forget his name, sorry, but he had a tweet this morning that said talks might be heating up for Jameis Winston to the Vikings. Now, this isn't reported. This isn't anything. This is speculation. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, the Saints are on their schedule pretty quickly after this trade would happen by today, but what does that do for the Vikings? Does that save the season?
Jameis is a Band-Aid.
I don't know.
At best. But he's
an exciting Band-Aid.
Yeah, he does. Look, there's 2 things about Jameis Winston that you have to keep in mind at the same time. There's a lot of people who remember the bad and only the bad, but there was really good times too. When Jameis is on one, he can. I mean, the season where he threw 30 plus interceptions, he also threw 30 touchdowns.
And don't forget, Mike Evans didn't have 1,000-yard season with him. Now Mike Evans has had 1,000-yard season with everybody he's played with, but still, like, it takes a quarterback to give that production.
Here's the reason why I don't think it's going to happen. I think Kevin O'Connell would legitimately pull the rest of his hair out if he had to deal with Jameis Winston. And also, like, I don't know if his vibe fits a lot of places. Like, Jameis is kind of a goofy dude.
There's no one more opposite of Kirk Cousins than Jameis Winston. Like, Kirk Cousins is super down to earth.
By the way, listen to this quote from Sean Payton. He said this yesterday.
I don't know if I can.
So Sean Payton of the Denver Broncos, who are rolling off of a huge win against the Kansas City Chiefs, running their record up to 3-5 after a 1-4 start. Payton said, "We're not openly or even remotely shopping anyone."
Why?
Denversports.com had this. People call me? Yeah, sure they have. Typically, the buyer wants the media to know that they've called, not the seller. So we're preparing. We've got a Buffalo cut up that I'm going to look at because obviously I have the Bills coming up. And I'm sure at some point I'll meet with George, their general manager, George Patton, and we'll be looking at the next opponent. Obviously, it's a bye week and then a Monday night game, so the schedule changes a little bit. I don't know that it's our trade deadline outlook is any different because we've had a bye. It's a matter of those other teams, what those other teams deem important, and it's hard to predict that. So he's not saying they're completely closed for business, but they're not actively shopping anybody on their team. He mentioned 0 names.
How could that be? I mean, how?
Well, it sounds like Sean Payton thinks the Denver Broncos have a shot to switch things around. I'm just saying that's what it sounds like.
Playoff team right there.
I know we joke around about it. Go ahead and pull up Russell Wilson's numbers. They're actually
better
not
than Patrick
bad.
Mahomes.
Yeah. He's like a top 5 quarterback.
That's not a head coach who's quitting on a season. That's a head coach who thinks that they figured something out on the against Kansas City.
He wants to build momentum this year to carry over into next year.
Or he's trying to drive a higher price on all these general managers who have called for Garrett Bowles.
All you're giving me is a second-round pick for Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah. Patrick Surtain, he was like, we're not moving him for less than 2 first-rounders.
What do you mean Jerry Jeudy can't catch? You saw last week's game, right? I mean, don't look anywhere else.
Hey, by the way, the NBA season is off and running as well, and so is the NFL season. But you got to get in on all the action with Underdog Fantasy and their Pick'em game. It's a fantasy game, but you can win real money. You can pick between 2 and 5 players, whether it's on the hardwood or on the playing field, on the football field. Select whether they're going to go higher or lower on their stat totals, and then spend the rest of your night doing what you normally do. Watch all these games, right? We were just talking about that big Clippers trade. Now Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and James Harden all going to be together in LA. Maybe you pick them all to go higher than their stat totals every single night on a pick'em. If you do that, you can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. And it's legal in California. It's a ton of fun to play along and watch your team. Easy to use mobile app. I love the Underdog Fantasy app. In fact, I went back and looked through my phone history. It is the most opened and active minutes used on any app in my phone. Goes to show you how much I like it. If you sign up and use promo code XTRA, Underdog, this is an awesome deal. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $500, but for a limited time only. Plus, new customers are going to have a mystery special pick live in their Pick'em lobby. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code XTRA. First deposit of $10 or more doubled up to $500, plus special pick in your Pick'em lobby. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Okay, coming up next, the scariest potential situation for the Padres moving forward on this Hallows Eve, right? And then also this, we got to get into World Series Game 3. Terrifying numbers. We'll explain next.
Hour number 2 on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch. This update is presented by the Jim Betrell Real Estate Team. We will begin here in the NFL. Monday Night Football last night. Raiders lose to the Lions 26-14. Rookie running back Jahmyr Gibbs, he outgained the entire Raiders team. He had 189 yards and a rushing touchdown. The Raiders had 157 for the entire game. Week 8 in the books. Week 9 gets going. Thursday Night Football. Titans Steelers in Pittsburgh. And one more NFL note, the trade deadline, 1 p.m. Pacific time today. It has been quiet so far. We will see if there's a flurry of moves a little later on. Locally, Aztecs basketball played their exhibition game last night at the Ajas Arena, fresh off the national championship run. The Aztecs beat Cal State San Marcos 81-50. The non-conference schedule will open up next Monday. Fullerton coming to town. That officially opens up the 2023-2024 season. And in the World Series, Rangers win Game 3 in Arizona 3-1 last night. They take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 will be in Arizona tonight at 5:03. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Betrell has the buyers. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
Woo! Happy Tuesday to those who celebrate. Happy Halloween to all. It's Big Rich, TD, and Fletch with you, reacting to Monday Night Football, Game 3 of the World Series. The Padres continuing disaster of a storyline that has now carried over from an unfortunate ending to the regular season into an offseason where we thought Bob Melvin was going to be the manager, and now he's the manager for the San Francisco Giants, and now the Padres don't have a manager, but we do kind of know who the next manager is going to be. What we're still unsure. I don't think anybody's all that excited about who the manager is going to be for the Padres. So let's get into it a little bit. I know it's still early. This announcement may not come for months. I mean, legitimately, there is no rush. There's no deadline. In your opinion, what is the scariest potential Padres storyline with the managerial search that can come up? Let's go around the horn.
Will Eric Hosmer be an all-star this season?
You know what? That is too scary. I want you to get rid of that sound clip.
The scariest storyline for me is who stays and who goes.
Yeah.
Like, is Juan Soto going to be traded? There's rumors are going to go on all offseason long.
Are we talking team? We talking managerial?
Well, actually, I want to hear. Finish what you're saying. I wanted to hear your thoughts on the manager search, but finish what you're saying about Juan Soto. Yeah. I want to. The question is, what's the scariest potential for the managerial search? But Juan Soto, go.
So if he does leave, you're not going to get back what you traded to get him. Like, the quality or the quantity is not going to be the same. So what does that mean for the team moving forward? Well, you gutted the farm system to get Juan Soto, and while AJ Preller has done a decent job of building it back up, the value is not going to be the same as keeping Juan Soto. So if you can't afford to keep him long term, the sooner you move on, the better. And I'm not sure that they're going to. I'm not sure there's teams out there that are going to be willing to pay what AJ wants for a 1-year rental. Managerially, the scariest situation is Chase Tingler 2.0, which I feel like is going to happen.
Now, by name, you mean Ryan Flaherty getting hired?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Or X-person from the Rangers scouting organization.
Yeah. What about you, TD?
Yeah, I mean, here's what the problem is with my thoughts on this is, as much as I would love to see someone come in that would just be a headstrong, just blockbuster manager come in and manage this Padres team, I don't think it's going to work. I think we saw that with Bomel. I think my biggest fear is that you bring in another Bomel. I think the only way it works right now, if you still have AJ Preller there, you have to have a yes man. You have to have a guy who's going to come in and do what AJ says, so you don't have that animosity in the front office. You got to take that piece out of it. Now, if you're talking about a team, the scariest part to me is everything stays the same. It didn't work.
Quick pushback, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
You say the Bomel thing didn't work. It didn't work this year. That's true. Bomel did get to an NLCS with the Padres.
Yep.
And he's the only manager to have back-to-back winning season under AJ Preller, who's hired a litany of yes men.
True.
So if your biggest fear is that, my biggest fear is Jay Singler 2.0, getting another yes man and having another underwhelming season that finishes with 70-something wins.
I mean, well, here's the common denominator in our fear here is that, yeah,
AJ Preller.
I mean, you're trying to work around a broken piece, in my personal opinion.
Well, AJ Preller is not going anywhere, kids. Right? You know, I mean this is who we have to deal with.
Dad.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, so if you're trying to warm yourself by the hearth in the home, and you're looking to a fatherly figure to say, "What's the future going to look like, Father, Papa?" It's going to look like AJ Preller doing what he normally does.
Because music is fitting. AJ Preller is Michael Myers.
Peter Seidler has been convinced that he's elite, that he is the reason why the Padres have had any relevance. I would actually shine the light more on Peter Seidler and the fact that he spent so much money. This team has been so relevant. It's almost impossible to be terrible spending this amount of money on a lineup. However, there are ways for it to go sideways. And part of it is ego. And I think AJ Preller has a big one. Now, is the next manager going to be most likely a puppet? Yeah. Is it going to be more resembling Andy Green and Jay Stingler rather than Bob Melvin? Yeah. And I actually think that's going to be better. Here's the reason why. If Mike Schilt, who is also one of the front-runner candidates, a senior advisor with the Padres organization, is hired, why was he fired in St. Louis? He didn't agree with the front office. Like, so what? I mean, I get it. You said it, Ben Fletch. You said Jace Tingler 2.0. That's going to stink. Well, I'll tell you what's going to stink worse. Having another crazy narrative about how your manager can't get along with your general manager if Schilt is hired.
What was the biggest storyline at the end of this season? It wasn't Juan Soto. It wasn't Machado. It wasn't Xander Bogaerts. It wasn't Tatis. It wasn't any of that. The biggest story was there is a problem in the front office for the Padres that is causing this organization to crumble. Yeah. I mean, that was it. So if there is the biggest problem, why? I mean, and how do you fix it? Well, you can't have a Bomel. You can't have somebody who's going, yeah, no, I would like to run the team like I'd run it.
Yeah, I went back and looked. Yeah, so it was philosophical difference with the GM is the reason why Schilt was let go after being manager of the year in St. Louis and having a 559 winning percentage during his time managing the Cardinals. So, yeah, look, I know that Schilt has cozied himself up to power inside this organization. He's Peter Seidler's second-hand man. That's great for the organization to have veteran experience at the top. However, at the field level, players who they deal with on a daily basis, if there's discord between that voice and the front office, the players are going to pit the parents against each other. And I believe that's what was happening because Kevin Acee described it. Well, actually, it was described as a civil war in Kevin Acee's article. And then he himself defended that. He said,
you asked the question. You said, does that mean people are picking sides?
Yes.
And he said, that's exactly what's happening.
And
which means there's still people loyal to Bomel in the Padres clubhouse.
Well,
eliminate them.
Oh, my God. Well, I've literally been refreshing Adam Schefter's Twitter, begging for there to be an NFL trade that we could talk about.
No, look, this is the reality of living in San Diego. The Padres are our only professional franchise, and this is going to be one of the most critical moments of the franchise's history, who they pick as the next manager, because guess what happens if this goes really wrong next season? This whole situation could be blown up. You could have a new president of baseball operations take the job and say, hey, Peter, everything AJ Preller did is wrong. We're shipping off all these players. We're starting from scratch.
So, Rich,
that could happen.
You said something there where you said AJ Preller hiring a yes man might be the best case scenario for this year. And I do agree with what you're saying because I think that's going to get you to the most wins this season.
Oh, you agree with Rich. You don't agree with TD.
Okay, here's the backhanded compliment part of it.
Okay.
The part I disagree with is there's a ceiling to that. There in the ceiling we've seen it year after year after year. Every time AJ Preller hires one of these yes man managers, which is why I disagree, TD, with the idea of hiring a yes man because we've seen it over and over again and it doesn't work.
Is the ceiling higher than 82 wins?
No, it's lower. It's an under 500 record.
I wouldn't.
Wait, you just said that you think this upcoming. You're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. You literally just said I think it's going to net them more wins in the short term, but you don't think long term it's right.
I'm saying it's. with AJ Preller as your general manager, hiring a yes man manager for the baseball team is the best case scenario right now to make things go copacetically. But we've seen this story play over and over again. Every time he hires one of these yes man managers, it doesn't lead to a winning season. It doesn't lead to playoff berths. The one time AJ Preller has made it deep into the postseason is when he had a manager named Bob Melvin.
I will say this though. I will say this. I know it was a short sample size, and I know that the pitching staff was ran into the dirt with Jace Tingler during a 60-game pandemic season, but Jace Tingler was a playoff manager for the Padres.
Do you count that season?
They did have a winning season. The Dodgers have a World Series championship, and I know if that World Series happened here in San Diego, I'd count it. So my point is this: I don't hate the idea. Let's put it this way. It's picking the best of the worst, right? We're being handed two bad options. You go with a manager, a headstrong manager who's going to cut his strings and not be led by, the marionette, right? Or the puppet master. And he's going to say, no, I'm going to do it my way. And you're going to have the same disaster at the end of the season that appeared with Bob Melvin. Or you have somebody controllable, somebody who's going to listen to the front office. Somebody, by the way, Ryan Flaherty played with Manny Machado in Baltimore, and that's very important to have Machado on your side as a manager. In fact, it is the most important thing because he's unfortunately and fortunately the most influential guy in that clubhouse. And so, look, do I love it? No. But I do think it is the best of the scariest scenarios that have been painted.
Yeah, you got to get the house right. I mean, you got to get the home life right, which I'm talking about the front office there. I mean, if you're having problems at home, everything else sucks. Your work life sucks. Everything outside of that is terrible. So, I mean, if mom and dad are fighting, you're not doing good in school. Things have to be smoother.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's the way this goes when you have.
Just don't know why we expect anything to be different.
Well, it's like the Mets, right? So I grew up in New York, and my dad was a Mets fan. The Mets, it didn't matter how much money they threw at their problems, they always were the Mets. And we know what that means here is because guess what? We're all Padres fans, right? I've been living in San Diego for 10 years, and it is so eerily reminiscent of what I grew up around, watching a Mets fan struggle through every single spring training, every season. You're just in the throngs of pain over decision making because it just doesn't get right. Now, here's if you're going to stick with AJ Preller, the only way to have this work is if you trust his vision 1000% and you push forward like Peter Seidler is, because the other side of this is firing AJ Preller and starting over.
Correct. But here,
I don't think I agree with that. I really don't.
You don't think it's starting over?
You've been saying this a lot, Rich, and I understand where you're coming from with it, but I don't think you have to start over if you fire AJ Preller.
But
because you have the four guys, you have your nucleus still here that can stay here.
All right. Yeah, but let's say you take over now. Are you going to run AJ's ship, or are you going to make it Ben Fletcher's ship?
Let me describe to you what happens, because I've lived this in the NFL. When a new regime comes in, they get rid of everybody. It's not little changes. It's wholesale changes. Everything's different. So the faces around the clubhouse will be different. The faces around the front office will be completely different. They're going to be people who don't know where the bathrooms are. Like it's just like it's wholesale change. And so yes, you're right. You may keep some of the core four in place, Bogarts and Tatis and Machado and Joe Musgrove. But guess what happens? Most likely one or two of those guys is gone. And so the faces of the franchise are going to even look different.
And so you're stuck with two superstars. Well, the Arizona Diamondbacks are doing it with zero. I'm just like, culture seems like it's such a paramount piece, and there's no better example of who's in the World Series right now. Bruce Bochy and the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Arizona Diamondbacks, who have a very young team with a couple of veterans sprinkled in there for culture pieces, and Bruce Bochy, who's one of the best culture builders in all of Major League Baseball. Those are the two teams in the World Series. You said it earlier, Rich. These are not the most talented rosters in baseball, not even close. They might not even crack the top 10. But here they are.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that. But my point is this. We're not talking about the World Series this year. We're talking about the World Series next year now. And here's the problem. If you fire AJ Preller today, like if you decided organizationally we're going in a different direction, just like they changed their mind on Bob Melvin within 2 weeks of having their end of season press conference. I mean, all of a sudden,
that mind wasn't changed. This was always the plan.
Everything will look different. I promise you that. So one more year, We'll see what happens. My guess, Ryan Flaherty.
Well, last night, Monday Night Football, the Lions beat the Raiders 26-14. Game never really felt that close, though. During the game, Devontae Adams was livid on the sideline after Jimmy G badly overthrew him on a wide-open look late in the fourth quarter. I think Adams had one reception. He was targeted 7 times, if you want to say targeted, since a couple of those were 10 yards past him. NFL trade deadline today. Still waiting to hear some big moves there. In the NBA, Clippers land James Harden in a blockbuster 76ers trade. And speaking of NBA players, Magic Johnson has accomplished something only 3 other athletes have ever done.
Tell me about it.
In the history of time, Forbes has declared Magic Johnson a billionaire.
Wow.
Yeah. His current net worth estimated to be $1.2 billion. He officially joins the ranks now with Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Tiger Woods as being one of the wealthiest athletes in the world.
You know
that would work.
Adam Schefter is trolling us.
What is he doing?
He's put out 2 tweets today.
Specifically us?
No, just the entire world right
Just
now.
like adding us on X.
I'm picturing Adam Schefter sitting at home in his little room that he does all his interviews on, just on his phone waiting for someone to text him. But here's what he's doing in the meantime. In case you missed it, there was a major overnight trade, ... As Woj reported, the 76ers sent Harden and PJ Tucker, and so he's being a jerk.
Yeah.
And then about 4 minutes ago, he said, a signing in Atlanta, ... Justin Thomas coming to Atlanta Drive Golf Country Club. Welcome to Atlanta, Justin Thomas.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So
dude.
Schefter's just being a total D right now.
It's so quiet right now that you know it's going to be buzzing. Like your phone, if you have like
calm before the storm.
updates, absolutely. Because you know there's going to be a lot of movement. There's a lot of needy NFL teams who are contenders right now. And there's a lot of teams that need to hit the ejector button on their flight so far this season. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And I think before the end of our show, the 8 o'clock hour is going to be busy. So buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
It's going to get wild.
It feels like if there was a year ripe for trade deadline action, it was this one. Do you remember that tweet Warren Sharp put out a couple weeks ago where he was talking about the disparity between the tops and the bottoms of the NFL and how large the gap is? It's the biggest ever, which is why there's been a slight decrease in ratings this season. So I'm thinking the bottom feeders need to start trading everyone to the top feeders so that we can have an awesome NFL playoffs. But nothing's happening.
Yeah, it's weird, but again, it's early still. Remember, this is 4 p.m. East Coast, 1 p.m. On our side of the world.
Time's ticking, boys.
Yeah,
start signing.
Do something.
But I promise you, what is happening is conversations between GMs and agents, and these deals are being consecrated in secret.
I think
and
there's some 3-ways going on.
There's going to be a couple of 3-ways,
maybe even
in
a
terms
foursome.
of teams and players.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all happening. We still have those Laney Wilson tickets that we're giving away here. So you want to keep it locked in. North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 23rd, livenation.com if you want to buy them, but keep it locked here. Also, Snow Jam tickets. You can win a 4-pack of tickets to Snow Jam 2023 at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. It's happening November 10th through the 12th. Unforgettable event.
Okay,
Unforgettable.
we absolutely need to get to this story. The World Series, look, it's a close series. I was knotted up 1-1 until last night. The Rangers stole one on the road from the Arizona Diamondbacks, but there's a storyline that's simmering underneath the surface that we got to get to, and we will coming up next. But first, I want to talk to everybody about Ocean View Dental, and specifically Dr. Colby, my dentist. So I did my homework. I needed a lot of dental work done. I had some cracked molars left over from my playing days in the NFL. They got cavities and infections, and I had to have, unfortunately, 3 of them removed, 2 of which was done by Dr. Colby, and his advanced specialty is implants. After doing my homework, I met with him. I trusted his plan, his course of action. And after having one extraction go pretty horribly wrong, I was really nervous about this. Now, the extraction wasn't done by Dr. Colby. I went with a different dentist that was closer to my house in Pacific Beach. And like I said, it was a very painful process. The recovery was a long time. I was told that the implants would take forever, like up to a year to set the posts and to put the implants in. And I just didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to see if there was another option. Dr. Colby has built a world-class family-oriented dental practice at Ocean View Dental, and he also has one in Fallbrook that provides excellent dental care as well, personal and professional attention that you and your family deserve. And I'm going to bring my family there. My wife, Annie, she will see no other dentist than Dr. Colby. I can promise you that, after the work he did in my mouth. So now I have 3 implants. They feel great. I can chew my food again for the first time in a long time. It's just unbelievable. It's a life changer. He's got the latest in advanced dental technology, including digital x-rays, 3D CT imaging, dental lasers, Invisalign, veneers, so much more. Go to oceanviewdental.net for more of that information. You're truly treated like family when you get into the chair, and it's the only office you need to go to. What I couldn't stand at my other dentist was I would go in and they would be like, okay, you need to have this cavity filled, and then you got to go to this place to get the imaging done, and then you got to go to this place to have the root canal done. It's just too much. You want to get it all done in one place at Ocean View Dental. You'll get it all done. Patients come from all over Southern California because it's a full service dental office with multiple options at their fingertips. They're going to get you the smile that you want, in most cases, in the same day. You got to check out Dr. Colby's Instagram page. He has all of these updates available there. Dental implants have changed my life. If you need major dental work, you got to see Dr. Colby over at Ocean View Dental. Again, that website, oceanviewdental.net. Okay, the story that's simmering underneath the surface in the World Series. We'll get to that coming up next.
The World Series storyline that nobody's talking about, but we are next.
This update is presented by DraftKings. We will begin here in the NFL. Monday Night Football last night. Raiders lose to the Lions 26-14. Rookie Jahmyr Gibbs could have beat the Raiders by himself. He had 189 yards. The Raiders had 157 yards. Week 8 in the books. Week 9 gets going with Thursday Night Football between the Titans and the Steelers in Pittsburgh Thursday night. One more NFL note. Trade deadline is at 1 p.m. Pacific today, and teams aren't doing anything. You know that meme where the little stick figure pokes and says, come on, just do something. Well, that's the three of us collectively to the NFL right now. Locally, Aztecs basketball played their exhibition game last night at Viejas Arena. Fresh off the national championship run, the Aztecs beat Cal State San Marcos 81-50. The non-conference schedule will begin next Monday. Fullerton coming to town to officially open up the 2023-2024 season. Banner night tickets are available at goaztecs.com. And in the World Series, Rangers win Game 3 in Arizona last night 3-1. They take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 in Arizona tonight at 5. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with Code Sports, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
Big Rich CD and Fletch, San Diego Sports 760. We will have a 4-pack of tickets to give away here to Snow Jam 2023 at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, happening November 10th through the 12th. An unforgettable event. Discover their extensive collection of alpine skis, snowboards, boots, bindings, gloves, goggles, and everything else you need for a fantastic winter season with competitive prices that rival online deals. You'll find the best prices right there at Snow Jam. But that's not all. Snow Jam San Diego is an unbeatable value for your winter adventures. Don't miss out on the incredible opportunity. Mark your calendars, November 10th, and get ready for an amazing winter experience at Snow Jam San Diego.
Free lift tickets. Enough said.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Lift tickets are not cheap.
No, in fact, they're really expensive.
They
also get crazy discounts on the Icon Pass, which is huge for people who like to travel a little bit for their snowboarding and skiing adventures.
Yeah.
I don't, because that's Aztecs basketball time, and that's all I care about.
The only place we really like to go.
Oh my god!
I don't know how Rich hits that door so hard.
At least we weren't talking about death this time.
Yeah, we weren't talking about death on the way back, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I remember last time I came in here, it was like Kramer on an episode of Seinfeld. You were going, yeah, so Matthew Perry, rest in peace. I was like, oh no, what have I done?
Man, ran into Cool Guy in the break room.
The best.
He's the best.
Brew it and do it, man.
Yeah. nothing to do but to brew it, man. Yeah. He gave me a happy Halloween, and then I said, what you got going on tonight, man? Doing anything? Nah, man, just dressing up to dress down. And I was like, what? I don't even know what that means. Dress it up to dress down.
I got a sweet tooth, and there's some dandy candy out there.
There's a market for Cool Guy t-shirts.
What's going on? Yeah, there is a market. Dude, we should just put Cool Guy, I Heart San Diego Cool Guy quotes on t-shirts and just write -anonymous underneath them. We will make so much money.
Or just like -Cool Guy.
Hanging and banging, man.
Let's do it, but to do it.
I got a sweet dude. There's some dandy candy.
What did he say just now? Dress it up to dress down?
Yeah.
Dude, it's the coolest thing you can tell.
Just dressing up to dress down. Man.
He only speaks in one-liners. I don't understand how that's even possible.
How does he come up with them so fast?
I wish I had this talent.
Like, yeah, happy Halloween. Do you do anything? Nah, man. Just dressing up, dressing down, you know. I don't really know.
No, but it's a great way to end a conversation and leave somebody just thinking about what you said instead of thinking about what the next thing they should say is.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so anyways, we'll keep you updated anytime we run into Cool Guy around San Diego here at iHeart. Game 1 of the World Series. Want to rewind the clock back to the end of last week.
Walk-off home run, close game.
Dude, Adolis Garcia played hero for the Rangers.
Hurt last night.
He did, yeah. It sucks. Dude, he's been one of the funnest storylines of the postseason. If you've been paying attention, which many of you have not been, and here's how we know. The opening game of the World Series had the lowest viewership of any World Series ever.
So, okay, that's the headline on ESPN, but if you read the ESPN article, it then references a pandemic season, game 3 of that World Series as being lower. So I'm going to say it's the lowest opener since 1969 when they started recording data.
Since 1969, folks, since 1969, 9.3 million viewers average on the game. That is dreadfully low for a championship game in any sport. Baseball, man, again, they're not hurting for cash. Like, baseball doesn't really care about ratings. I promise you they don't. What they care about is rights deals with networks. So as long as television networks are willing to pay out the nose to have their rights, Major League Baseball really doesn't care. Same with the NBA.
Yeah.
They don't really care. As long as ESPN is going to foot the bill, and we're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars being shared by all those governors or owners in the NBA, all the owners in Major League Baseball, it's only being split 30 ways. Think about that. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And then obviously they pay a share of that to the players to have a great product on the field. Most markets do. A lot of markets do not because of the profit sharing. Some of these owners just go to the bank with their checks and then they have very minimal payroll. And we know that story too. But baseball's got a big problem because this is a ridiculously low amount of viewers.
So week 7 of the NFL season this year, I'm looking real quick. The lowest rated game in week 7 was Jacksonville, Indianapolis at 9.79 million viewers.
Wow. And was that an Amazon game?
That was Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is just prime time, 9.79.
You're talking about a regular season primetime game, and you're talking also on a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still higher than game 1 of the World Series.
It was New Orleans. Sorry, not Indianapolis.
Okay, but still.
I thought it was IND. It's NO.
Dude, it is absolutely wild.
And
look,
by the
wow.
way, the other primetime games that week, 14.53, 15.69, 20.61, 24. Like, it's just ridiculous.
I still think this goes back to the fact that these games are not the deciding game yet. I mean, if this was who's going to win the World Series, you are now, there's one team that already has 3 wins. Maybe that 4th game garners more eyeballs.
We'll see.
We will see.
They're not going to crack 12, I don't think, no matter what.
I mean, it's a low number for a game 1. We'll see what the other games look like. Game 2, game 3.
Game 2 was a blowout, so I got to imagine it's less.
I mean,
game 3, I forgot what's happening.
Same here.
Let me see.
Guess what? Game 4's tonight. Don't forget.
Hang on. Game 2.
Game 3 went up again't Monday Night Football. They started at the same time.
Yes.
So even though it was kind of a trash Monday night game last night, it was better than most. I don't think it got anything.
Yeah, but
night.
okay. So if you're just a casual watcher, you're not into it. You're a casual sports fan.
You're watching football.
It is easier to digest football because there's something happening. There's a play every 20 seconds. It's not a pitch and a ball and thrown back. I mean, it's just because the game of baseball is a little more drawn out, which is, why MLB went, hey, let's try to generate some more offense this season. Let's make the bases bigger. Let's make it easier to steal. Let's give a pitch clock. I mean, there's reasons behind that is because it's not as palatable as a football game.
And let's be very honest, Friday night, the night we're referencing where baseball notched its lowest rated World Series opener ever, it was a Friday night standalone game. No other sports were on TV that night. The next highest rated thing was The Price is Right with Travis Dale as the host, Drew Carey. That had 3.04 million viewers.
That's
but
incredible.
Baseball 9.
I will tell you, a close game 7 playoff or World Series game is magical. I mean, it's magical. But game 3 of the World Series of 2 teams that you're not really invested in, I'll probably find something else to watch. And I did.
Yeah, it's unfathomable. Well, here's the problem. Look, it isn't unfathomable. It makes sense that these networks still want to pay the amount of money that they pay for these rights deals because live television, when you cast a net that goes for 5 months where you're going to collect cumulatively the largest amount of viewers outside of the NFL, I'm talking about for Major League Baseball and NBA, these rights deals, the reason why they're so immense is think about how many advertisers want to link with that and get their products in front of viewers. Cumulatively, it's a huge number. But when we're focusing on just postseason and championship series and things like that, it seems very small compared to the NFL, which it is.
100 million people are going to watch the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean,
it's not even close.
By the way, side note, if the Padres are in the World Series, I'm watching every minute of every game.
Of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, you make it regional and it means something to me. I'm there.
Well, what was the number in Philadelphia during the NLCS? It was outrageous.
Yeah, it was 41% of every single television was tuned into that Phillies game.
And by the way, they did mention in that same ESPN an article that the ALCS and NLCS were both super highly rated.
But-
Well, you had the Astros and the Phillies in it.
By the way, when you're talking about ratings, 41% is unheard of. So, I mean, like when television shows or sporting events have a 10% rating, they dominate.
And this is from Ross Dellinger, who works with Sports Illustrated Online. Ross, trusted source when it comes to numbers like this, covers college football, but this just goes to show you how much football reigns over the rest of the sports in this country. Notre Dame, Ohio State from a couple of weeks back was on par with averages for the 2023 NBA Championship Series, which was 11.6 million, with the 2022 MLB World Series, which averaged 11.7 million, and got 4 times the viewership of the 2023 NHL Stanley Cup Finals, which got 2.6 million. They averaged 10.5 million viewers on NBC sports properties across their streaming and network platforms for a regular season college football game in Ohio. Like,
Wow.
football is king in this country,
Okay.
and it's not even close.
And you want to look at football being king in the country locally, go to any high school on Friday night.
Yeah.
Go to any high school on Friday night and then compare it to any other sport that's at the school. Not in terms of greatness. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in terms of viewership. How many people show up to a Friday night game?
Good thing we like football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's and listen, and it's nothing against avid baseball watchers.
No.
Like, we the three of us probably have watched more than the majority of San Diego in terms of these World Series games. The problem is we can't really talk about them because
Can't get my teeth into it.
nobody, well, yeah, like nobody else cares. And that's the problem that baseball has. It's the problem that the NBA has, is regionally important, nationally completely lost in the conversation.
Well, and I think the NFL and football in general has done a good job of making every game matter.
Here you go,
I
baseball.
mean, games mean something.
Here's your fix. Shorten the season, get the postseason in before the NFL starts.
I've been saying it for years, and really honestly, since the pandemic, when we got to watch it happen in actuality.
Best baseball season of my lifetime.
Let's go back to 60 games. I know there's a lot of baseball purists whose stomach turns every time I say it. I don't care. I honestly, if you want to save the sport, because these chickens will come home to roost eventually. You can't just ride off of low ratings forever and expect advertisers and networks to pay money for this. It's just eventually the tide will turn against it. By the way, boxing and horse racing were 2 of the biggest sports pre-World War II. They too fell in the rankings. It's what happens to all sports if they don't pay attention to having an entertaining product. And right now, baseball and the NBA, they're really struggling in that regard.
Yeah, they are. Also, what I've been struggling with, my weight. Yep. Not so much anymore. And look, I was used to getting comments on my weight, but I mean, lately it's not been just because, hey, man, hey, fatty. That hasn't been there. It's been, how'd you lose all that weight? And the answer is sdfatloss.com. Look, I tried to do it on my own here. We tried to do it on our own. We tried to do the fad diets. Didn't work out great. Nope, not so great. But sdfatloss.com, they came in. They showed us the right way to do it. And we talked about it earlier here, Rich. Fletch, my wife asking, hey, did you buy some new shirts? But nope, not that. Wearing clothes that I haven't pulled out of the closet in literally 2 years. They have tags on them. You know, they were a Christmas present that went, oh, yeah, I love it. Can't put it on. Can't get it buttoned.
It's so crazy how similar that story is to my own. Like, legitimately, I pulled the tags off of a shirt this week that I didn't even know I owned.
Right.
Because it didn't fit.
Well, and you know, you look at some of them and you go, I don't know, I've given up. I can't do it. It's not going to happen. But you don't have to give up. Not with sdfatloss.com. They will show you the correct way to lose weight, the correct way to get healthy, and how to do it fast, because it's been 7 weeks and 2 days. I'm down 30 pounds. It's unbelievable to me. It doesn't actually seem possible, but it is. The scale, by the way, still dropping as we roll through this thing. So no exercise required. You don't have to count points, calories, injections, none of that stuff. Don't worry about it. sdfatloss.com. They're going to show you the right way to do it. Go there now. Schedule your free consultation today. You got nothing to lose because it's free, except those unwanted pounds. So start the journey. sdfatloss.com.
Yeah, awesome stuff there. Okay, not so awesome stuff coming out of the Michigan football program. A new revelation has just occurred. The story takes a turn. We'll bring it to you coming up next. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Music video has a really long intro.
Yeah, this is what's the Thriller video, right? Where he becomes the zombie guy.
Mm-hmm. MJ dancing around with a bunch of zombies, red jumpsuit. Happy Halloween to all who celebrate. It's Big Rich Stadium Fletch with you. If you're listening on the free iHeartRadio app, keep listening because we're going to have opportunities for you to win Lainey Wilson tickets, Snow Jam 2023 tickets. Okay, we have a 4-pack at Snow Jam. That's coming up in November 10th through 12th over at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Lainey Wilson not coming to town until August, but those tickets available at livenation.com. They're going to go fast. We have a pair of tickets for to see her show at North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Okay. So Michigan football has been in hot water for a while, and Jim Harbaugh is at the center of everything.
Like, why though?
Well,
The underlying, Colin actually said it the other day. He was like, "They hate you when they ain't you."
right?
I was like, that makes a lot of sense because I feel like everybody does this.
Okay,
but
tush
Michigan's
push.
the one. I hate that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Hate us because they hate us.
yeah.
Great line from a great movie.
There
I
is
hate us because they.
there is a concerted effort now to get Jim Harbaugh out of college football. I mean, it's so they hit him with the COVID stuff because they were not following COVID protocols closely with their recruiting processes, all those things, and he pretty much shook off the NCAA. Was like, yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. Took a small suspension and moved on with his day. With this, they're really trying to pin him now because I don't think he played well in the sandbox with the NCAA officials, and I think they probably got some help from some other coaches at other universities who are diming out Jim Harbaugh
he
and
hasn't
his staff.
exactly made friends throughout his college coaching
No.
career.
Correct.
I mean, even within Michigan's organization, there's people that really don't like him.
Well, and that's the rub. I'm sorry. I mean, that's what it is.
But have you guys seen the latest update that this may follow him even into the NFL if he gets a coaching job in the NFL?
Well, here's the deal. I don't know if it follows you into the NFL because NCAA's jurisdiction ends with college football. He's not going to get suspended if he goes to the NFL.
Mhm.
Like, that's not happening. The NFL does whatever the NFL wants to do. If Jim Harbaugh doesn't end up coaching because for one reason or another, but if it's related to this scandal and he goes to the NFL, whatever team was the Chicago Bears or whoever signs him, Carolina Panthers. I don't know if they should do that necessarily, but if there's a team who wants to move off of their coach and bring in new blood, and Jim Harbaugh's that guy, I mean, he can move on with his life just like Pete Carroll did when he left USC amid allegations of, inappropriate recruiting tactics. And Reggie Bush was eventually stripped of his Heisman and all the things that happened. He went to Seattle and he was like, hey, let's play NFL football.
I hate this. This is so lame to me. I mean, give me a break. Look, you played within the lines of the rules. Okay, you just didn't like it, and maybe they didn't know how to put a rule in place to stop it entirely. And he didn't do anything wrong other than it was frowned upon. And because he is not the most liked individual and didn't play well in the sandbox, they went, okay, hey, we're done then. Which is all in their right. It just makes me go, okay, come on, give me a break.
Rich, I know you said that the jurisdiction of the NCAA doesn't extend to the NFL, and that's true. But the report this morning from NFL.com is pointing to a case back in 2011 when Jim Tressel was heading to the NFL after being suspended from college football, and the Indianapolis Colts said he wouldn't join the club until week 7 of the season because of stuff that was following him from college. So NFL.com, at least, is making the case that even if Harbaugh finishes his time with Michigan, goes to the NFL, there could be another suspension waiting for him there.
Well, I don't really understand the carryover.
Me neither.
I think that one was contractual. I don't think he was allowed to enter an agreement with an NFL team. I don't think it was disciplinary.
I haven't done enough research on it, but I heard the update on Fox this morning, and then I'm reading this quickly, but it's saying the NFL is unlikely to make itself a safe harbor for Harbaugh to escape what could be a substantial NCAA discipline, league sources say. raising the strong possibility that Harbaugh would need to serve some or all or any possible suspension he could face in college if he returns to the pros.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's completely case by case in this situation. I mean, if this is a big enough story and you have enough owners in the NFL balking at attempt to bring somebody who's being labeled as a cheater, or may actually be, if these allegations prove true and they unearth more things against Jim Harbaugh that he did actually cheat to win games while he was at Michigan, well, then yeah, they can make that determination. But the NCAA has no power over the NFL whatsoever. I mean, they work in partnership with one another, but it's a partnership that honestly either side can break from at any point. I mean, they depend on each other. Obviously, the NCAA is a feeder league for the NFL, and providing safe harbor for somebody who's really disappointed the ranks of college football coaches in the NFL will probably ruffle some feathers. So again, it'll be subjective. We'll see what happens.
So here's the 2011 situation. Ohio State quarterback Terrell Pryor, he was facing a 5-game suspension for trading
tattoos,
memorabilia, cash tattoos when he was declared for the NFL supplemental draft. Roger Goodell, they upheld that 5-game suspension that he got in college, moved it to the NFL. Tressel, who was the head coach, was also suspended 5 games by Ohio State, but ultimately resigned. He had taken a game day consultant job with the Colts, and the NFL's decision on Pryor raised questions. As is often the case with coaches, the league allowed the team to handle the case internally. The Colts announced Tressel wouldn't be with the club until week 7.
Right. So again, completely up to A, the NFL, and B, the organization he goes to, if they even want to continue with discipline. But this could be one of those situations where the NFL go, yeah, this feels like an overreaction. And frankly, if there's not strong enough evidence to indict him of anything that's really, really specifically against the rules that he was affiliated with, maybe they let him walk. And I'll tell you right now, Jim Harbaugh, what he was able to do gentrifying the San Francisco 49ers, bringing them to a Super Bowl, was impressive in short order.
Until they all hated him.
Yeah, the locker room turned against Jim Harbaugh in a big way. I played with some of the guys who played under Jim Harbaugh. It was not a good ending to that story, but it was good while it lasted.
And it led to Jim Tomsula.
If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I take my collective earnings for my lifetime, move out to, I don't know, Telluride, buy a ranch, and I coach the high school out there and call it good. The end.
I don't think that's what Harbaugh's
I don't either.
Yeah, no.
I don't either.
I think he's heading back to the NFL.
And he had this contract that was due to him in Michigan. That's the reason why we're talking about it today. The breaking story was that's been pulled, and the huge buyout that was going to be attached to that has been pulled. And so the temperature is rising in Michigan. I'm very curious what happens with this story. If you are shopping for a new car, SUV, or truck, I want you to go over to your San Diego County Toyota dealers. I drive around in a 4Runner. I absolutely love it. It's a small SUV, but it's really roomy. It has enough room for our family. We're a family of 4. We got car seats in the back, plenty of room to stow gear when we're going places on a trip. Or when we have people in town, you fold up that back row. But they have a huge line of SUVs. They have a huge line of pickup trucks, and they have an awesome lineup of cars, including their Beyond Zero lineup of electrified vehicles. Look, gas prices, we've all seen them. You're driving past the gas station or you're stopping in to fill up. They aren't going down. They're going in the opposite direction, and it's unfortunate. But if you're interested in saving on gas, saving at the pump, the Beyond Zero lineup is for you at your San Diego County Toyota dealers. I want to specifically talk to you about the way their staff treats you when you walk onto the lot. It was the easiest car buying experience of my life. I've done this multiple times. And when you walk onto a car lot, you feel like you're being sold something. It's the worst feeling in the world. You're being forced into a decision. It has to happen right now. I felt none of that. I spoke to a great salesperson who was knowledgeable about the inventory, who didn't lie to me. I didn't feel like I was being pushed to make any decisions. And ultimately, I decided to buy that day, but it was my decision. He handed me a card at one point and said, why don't you walk around a little bit? And if you leave, that's fine. If you need to come back and talk to me, why don't you do that? I'll be in my office. And he pointed over to where he was going to be sitting. It's that kind of no pressure environment that I love at San Diego County Toyota dealers. So if you're looking for an experience that you're actually going to enjoy instead of being pushed by somebody on a used car lot, go to San Diego County Toyota dealers, wherever you find them around the county. Okay, coming up next, we keep our eye on the NFL trade deadline. There was a major trade, though. We'll get back to that. Game 3 of the World Series and Monday Night Football recap, all on the other side. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch.
It's hour 3 on Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, and this update is presented by Staples Stores. Starting off with Monday Night Football, Raiders lose to the Lions 26-14. Thursday night this week is going to be Steelers-Titans in Pittsburgh. Trade deadline's been quiet so far. I've been refreshing that Adam Schefter Twitter page like crazy. Locally, Aztecs basketball played their exhibition game last night at Viejas Arena, fresh off the national championship run. The Aztecs beat Cal State San Marcos 81-50. Non-conference schedule will begin officially next Monday. Fullerton coming to town to open up the 23-24 season. And in the World Series, Rangers win Game 3 in Arizona last night, 3-1. They take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 in Arizona tonight at 5. Staples Holiday Deals means amazing service for the holidays, like holiday season or on hot tech like laptops, game systems, earbuds, or more. Right now, save up to $300 on select PCs, in-store only. Offer ends 11/11. See an associate for details. Have yourself a merry little holiday deal at Staples.
Woo! Happy Halloween to those who celebrate. We're there. All Hallows Eve, October 31st. We're going to have a lot of trick-or-treaters on the road. Be careful driving around tonight. Later on today, really, the afternoon it starts.
Is tomorrow Dia de los
Muertes.
Muertes?
Yeah, the 1st of November.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Day of the Dead?
Mm-hmm. Or is it today? Is today the Day of the
I don't
Dead?
know.
Because it's the eve of
Dia
All Hallows Day.
de los Muertes 2023. I feel like somebody out here would know this.
Yeah.
I
Traditionally
don't know.
celebrated on November 1st and 2nd, though other days such as October 31st or November 6th may be included.
There we go.
Uh-huh.
We did it.
Okay. We did. I love Google. It's my favorite thing. Yeah, so happy Dia de los, or I should say, how would you say it?
I don't know.
Happy-
Eve Dia de los
Feliz.
Muertes.
Mhm.
Eve?
We did it.
Feliz.
Feliz.
Feliz. That's Mary.
That's like Feliz Cumpleaños. That's happy birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you nailed it.
You are right.
You're welcome, San Diego.
Yeah.
We've got 4 corners coming up. We're going to bring you the best stories from around the map. But before we get there, we have to do this. So the NFL trade deadline is today at 1 p.m. Pacific.
Do something.
There has been nothing happening. Okay. We heard that Jalen Johnson, cornerback for the Bears, is up for trade. The Giants don't want to trade Saquon. And that's about it.
Mhm.
That's about it.
Well, the Giants did trade someone yesterday, Leonard Williams. Where did he end up going?
He went to, where did Leonard Williams go?
I don't know.
He
It wasn't
went to,
substantial.
wait a minute.
They got a second rounder for him.
And a 6th in the future.
Yeah, he's basically a free agent. But the second rounder is
Seattle Seahawks.
That's right. That's right.
that's a good haul for Leonard Williams, who's, I mean, look, and frankly, the Seahawks, they're one of those teams who has quietly put together another playoff resume this
They are
year early in
in
the season.
First place in the NFC West.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not on my
What
bingo
the
card.
heck, man?
The 49ers have really screwed up. They need to shore up their defense. Curious if they make a move. The Denver Broncos also reportedly not interested in trading anyone per Sean
Yeah.
Payton
Could
after
you
that
imagine?
Kansas City win.
The Broncos are buyers.
Well, I don't know if they'll be buyers, but Sean Payton specifically said, we don't have anybody up for sale. That's what he said.
So if that were the case and the Broncos became buyers, as a Bronco fan, I'd be like, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Let me ask this question because the trade deadline brought up a lot of quarterback storylines, right? We were talking about Kirk Cousins potentially be moved before his Achilles injury. And now potentially the Vikings, after a win over the Colts, might be looking to buy at the trade deadline. They're a 4-4 football team. They're contending with the Detroit Lions in the NFC North. They're not going anywhere. That was a big bounce back win for Detroit last night on Monday Night Football. But you start looking at quarterbacks around the league and you start hearing some of the conversations taking place. Is there any way whatsoever that the San Francisco 49ers are looking to trade for a quarterback at the deadline? They have cap space. They could potentially move to get somebody, a big name. I mean, they have a lot of cap space. Part of the reason is because they're not paying Brock Purdy anything.
Right. He's making like $117,000 this year. The one that would have made sense just ruptured his Achilles. Kirk Cousins and Kyle Shanahan have this love affair, right? The Minnesota Vikings, that feels like a situation where they can move off of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins would fit perfectly into the offense. He ruptured his Achilles. It's not happening.
Well, I think the question is, do the 49ers have 3 losses if someone else is at the helm than Brock Purdy?
So probably, but here, no, Travis, I don't think they do. Like, if it's a Kirk Cousins, maybe one of those is a win. I think the biggest issue with the 49ers right now is their defense. That's the thing that's taken the biggest step back from last season. And I don't know if it's a defensive coordinator thing. D'Amico Ryan's now the head coach with Houston Texans. He was their defensive coordinator last year. Steve Wilkes is now there. I saw Emmanuel Acho actually have a really good point on this, which I don't love his takes, but yesterday he was really good on it. Talking about the fact that D'Amico Ryans and Robert Saleh, they were down on the field firing guys up. Steve Wilkes up in the press box, calling plays the defense from up there. And B, Steve Wilkes was a cornerback. And the Niners have had one of the lowest blitz rates among any team in the NFL this year. Where's the strength of the Niners defense? On their defensive line. Why are they not blitzing more? That was the question Acho brought up, and I agree with it. Like, I don't think Steve Wilkes has done a very good job.
Well, what's interesting is those 2 points to me are they're oppositional. When you have a strong defensive line, it allows you to play coverage, because if you have a good pass rushing group up front, it means that you're getting a rush with 4, which means that you can drop 7, like routinely. That to me it's counterintuitive to argue they have one of the best defensive lines, so they should blitz more. No, I mean, that is an argument to blitz less and have more bodies committed to coverage, in my opinion. I mean, maybe he's seeing it completely differently, but that's always how it's been in the NFL. The reason why, for example, the Tampa 2 is named after the Warren Sapp-led defensive line in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers, who's now a Hall of Famer, Warren Sapp. Because they had such a dominant group up front. They could play 2 deep safety coverage behind it all the time, and nobody could stop it because they put pressure on quarterbacks at will. The best defenses in football history had guys who could get to the quarterback without having to commit more bodies to the blitz. We'll see what happens with the Niners. I mean, this is a slump. They're certainly, in my opinion, going to be buyers. This season is far from over. Brock Purdy has looked great except for these last 3 games. So maybe there's a bounce back coming after the bye week for them.
Man, the NFL power rankings that are coming out, though, the Niners have taken a slide.
Of
So
course.
the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Both of them out of the top 5.
I mean, like, which one do you trust the most? ESPN, NFL? Which one you want?
None of them.
And the Niners went from 3rd to 7th. Now the top of the heap is the Eagles once again.
The Chiefs took a nosedive too in this latest one after their loss to the Broncos.
Yeah, they dropped down to 3. Yeah, well, it's a big day. Big week for me. It probably won't last more than another 4 days.
But Rich, you tell me, like, you watch this Niners team. Like, I feel like cornerback is the needy position. Well, there's a pretty damn good one out there with the Chicago Bears that you can go get. And we've mentioned the cap space before, but does one cornerback solve the issues? In my eyes, it kind of does. Like, Lenore has been getting toasted on the outside.
Look, their defense, the reason why they lost, I know everybody's focusing on Brock Purdy, and we are too, but the reason why they lost was because their defense let up all those points last week. So, yeah, you got to take a look at your defense.
Bad on 3rd down, man. The Vikings game and then the Bengals game. Terrible on 3rd down.
And then you start looking around, like the Raiders, Devontae Adams. I mean, specifically Devontae Adams. You could get a haul for Devontae Adams. It would almost be organizational malpractice if he wants out and you don't trade him. Because what does that net you at the end of the day? I mean, this season doesn't look like it's going anywhere for the Raiders at 3-5.
No.
And he's frustrated. It's time.
Yeah, and if you don't let him go, now you just have an angry Devontae Adams on your team for the rest of the season. That'll be so fun.
It's just going to be a meme at some point. Like, people are going to start using Devontae Adams as like a cautionary tale, like arms crossed, pouty face. Like, I wish I was in Kansas City right now. I wish I was in San Francisco right now.
The memes have been on fire this morning. There's the scene from the Karate Kid remake where Will Smith's son is like, "I hate it here. I just want to go home." And people are saying that's Devontae Adams. There was also a sideline shot of Devontae Adams last night saying some very mean words right after the second overthrow. And then I saw someone else on Twitter saying, We could have had a Monday Night Football where Devontae Adams had a 98-yard touchdown and a 60-yard touchdown, and Jimmy Garoppolo missed them both.
Yeah, yikes.
Wow.
Not great.
Mm-mm.
My question is, like, could the Rams be buyers? Can you make sense of that? Like, are there teams
Do
that
they
were
have enough to buy?
Well,
like,
that's a good point.
They don't have any draft picks.
They spent a lot of capital, but you could make a player swap with some picks. It doesn't always just have to be picks. I mean, yeah, there's some interesting storylines around the NFL that are going to unveil themselves most likely this hour, because we're getting closer and closer as the clock ticks to this trade deadline, and it has been almost nothing so far.
Yeah, like oddly quiet,
Mhm.
which is a little strange. It makes you think that there's going to be something that's going to be big that happens, or maybe we're just all idiots and nothing happens. And this is the NFL season.
Well, no, I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think we're idiots. I think it's been eerily quiet, and I do think on this Halloween, before everybody is getting their baskets and their pillowcases out to go house to house and ask for candy, we're gonna be treated with some trades. There's no question.
Were you a pillowcaser
Yeah.
growing up? Yeah, same.
1,000%.
Same. Fletch?
Wasn't really a trick-or-treater.
What?
Really?
You didn't go trick-or-treating as a child?
No, I mean, where we lived wasn't super conducive to it. Like, we didn't get trick-or-treaters at our house.
Yeah,
either.
neither did we.
So, like, when I got to, like, 8th, 9th grade, 7th, 8th grade, I did go to, like, friends' neighborhoods, but it wasn't a huge trick-or-treater.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was almost like a landmark decision every year in my household, like what I'm going to be for Halloween. We lived, though, in like very much so like a house all the way down the block neighborhood where everybody was on page. Like the trick-or-treating began like 3 p.m., like as soon as school let out, and it didn't stop until 10 o'clock at night. I remember one time my mom yelling at a teenager who came to our house at like 11. They were like, trick or treat. She's like, get the hell off my lawn. What do you think this is? It's already almost November 1st.
My mom bought a ton of candy every year. We've never had one trick-or-treater. not a single one.
And
My parents left all the lights out. They were trying to push trick-or-treaters away.
We lived down a street that looked like it was haunted. I mean, it was just like trees that were, growing over the street that look like you'll die if you go there.
You're good. I was just going to tease four corners. You're good.
So there was a huge trade. It was just a NBA trade. And now the Clippers have James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Paul George. That is 3 of the top 6 players in the NBA points scored in their careers, but they've never won a title.
Wow.
So active players, those are 3 of the top 6 players in the NBA in terms of points scored. None of the 3 have won a title.
That's a hell of a stat. Wow.
And I don't know that this is going to help them.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure at the end of this story. And then they all want a Larry O'Brien and went home happy.
Everyone's talking about Victor Wembanyama at the start of this NBA season, the Spurs #1 overall draft pick, the superstar, right? Sneakily, Luka Doncic having the best year in the NBA by far. He becomes the first player in NBA history to lead a team outright in points, rebounds, and assists in each of the first 3 games of the season. He's on a tear. World Series, Rangers now lead at 2-1. They were the first team to win 9 straight road games in a single postseason after defeating the Diamondbacks on Monday. They broke a tie with the 2019 Nationals and the 1996 Yankees. 96, the year of our Lord Ben Fletcher. And Adam Schefter has reported exactly nothing.
Yes, yeah.
Outside of a Justin Thomas golf signing for Atlanta Drive Golf Club.
Yeah.
And he also retweeted Adrian Wojnarowski's trade.
Slow day in the NFL. All right. Hey,
Wow.
if you're listening right now, be listening in about 5 minutes. We're going to be giving away some tickets. We have 2 different types of tickets to win. Lainey Wilson, pair of tickets here at North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. That's going to be in August of next year. You can win a pair of tickets or go to livenation.com for more tickets and information there. Or Del Mar Fairgrounds, Snow Jam 2023 coming up November 10th through the 12th. Snow Jam. Family 4-pack of tickets to go to Snow Jam this year in November. So one of those 2 ticket packages going to be given away in about 5 minutes.
One other halftime note before we get to Four Corners. Aztecs basketball was on the hardwood last night. They won 81-50 over Cal State San Marcos. It was their exhibition game. Banner night is going to be next Monday. So buy your tickets now. GoAztecs.com.
Fullerton, they open with?
Fullerton next Monday.
Okay, very cool.
Banner night, baby.
Looking forward to that. Viejas is going to be popping. No question about that. All right, I want to lead off Four Corners with this story. Krispy Kreme stock is falling.
It's plummeting.
I mean, they're a little bit up this morning. They've had a little bit of a rise off the mat.
Good.
Thankfully, Krispy Kreme might still be a popular choice for donut lovers, but the boom in weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy has the Wall Street firm warning investors about the stock. So apparently, Krispy Kreme, because of diabetes drugs, is taking a hit.
Yeah, their stock yesterday morning was right about $21 a share, dropped to just under $13 a share. So investors decided, it's not even worth half of what it should be because Ozempic will cause people not to eat Krispy Kreme. So I'm going to tell you right now, they'll still eat them.
Yeah. They'll eat them, and so will I.
Right.
I love it when the hot light is on over there.
God.
Nothing makes me happier.
I don't understand how a Krispy Kreme donut becomes like cotton candy where they almost dissolve in your mouth.
It is amazing. Now, I don't want to speak out of term here, but have you guys seen the news about Ozempic lately?
No.
Like, a couple people have been hospitalized from the side effects.
What?
No, it is alleged. No, there's CBS News articles about it now.
Okay.
Fatloss.com is the way to go.
I'm oddly more concerned about the saggy butt syndrome.
Oh, right.
Is that a thing with Ozempic?
Yeah.
Something that people are reporting on as well.
Right.
Squats.
Right.
Hey, guys, the NBA has debuted insanely swagged out alternate courts for the inaugural season in tournament. The in-season tournament, they're going to have like these video displays on the hardwood, and they're going to paint them differently.
Yeah.
They have this stained glass Atlanta Hawks look. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be others, but
yeah, if you scroll down in that article, you can see some of the paint layouts, and they're actually kind of cool.
Let's see. All right, here's one. Yeah,
I'm here for the in-season tournament. I know it's gotten made fun of a lot. It probably isn't going to work great, but at least they're trying something new. Like, I wish baseball would try something new to try to attract more people.
Well, they did.
Yeah, I know they did.
They made the bases larger.
They have the lowest World Series ratings ever.
They put the runner on second.
Right. They did all those things.
Extras.
Pitch clock. Come on.
Pitch clock.
Yeah. Something better.
They banned the shift in the infield.
Oh yeah. Shift ban. Big. Apparently, Jimmy G's job is now in question. Josh McDaniels was asked after the game last night about the job, and all he said was, "I'm not going to talk about it right now." Like,
that is not what you want to hear.
No.
Josh Dobbs loses his starting job with the Arizona Cardinals. They're either going to play Kyler this week if he's healthy enough, which on fantasy apps he is projected to get points this week, or they're going to the rookie, which I can't remember his name.
I'm guessing it's going to be Kyler. They're paying him so much money. Speaking of money, a house just sold in California for $1.55 million. It's got a lot of perks. It's within walking distance of a major mall. Enough space for a whole family. It's located in a safe neighborhood. Only problem, there's a meth lab inside.
Right. What? Something tells me you have to remove that before you can move in.
Kendall and I saw this article last night, and we both looked at each other and were like, well, we're screwed. We'll never be able to buy a house, period.
Wow.
Dude,
you don't have to get a place with a meth lab.
I mean, what if that one's 1.55? What is the nice little family home going to be?
I think you're paying extra for the garage lab, to be perfectly frank. I mean, do you know how much money you're going to make when you start cooking crystal?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, you don't have to do the OnlyFans page. Once you have your meth lab up and running,
all of a sudden we see Ben. We're like, "What are you dressed up as, Heisenberg this year?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's totally a costume."
Say my name.
That was such a great show.
Variety.com has ranked the best Halloween movies ever, and I do have some questions here. Starting at number 10, The Karate Kid. Does anybody think that's a Halloween movie?
What?
I mean, I guess that happened in Halloween time.
Did it?
I mean, remember they were dressed as skeletons?
The skeletons when they beat the crap out of him.
Oh,
and Mr. Miyagi comes
yeah.
out. Like,
I don't know. I question that one. Number 9, House of a Thousand Corpses. Never seen it.
Never heard of it.
Number 8, Donnie Darko.
Oh.
Never seen it.
Thousand Corpses was Rob Zombie made a movie.
Okay.
Donnie Darko.
You've never seen Donnie Darko?
Good movie. Good flick.
No.
This
Number
is
7.
like young Jake Gyllenhaal.
Number 7's E.T.
Oh wow,
I
that's
guess
considered a
again,
Halloween movie, also.
Yeah, because they went trick or
They
treating.
did. Okay, yeah, that
6
makes sense.
Pumpkinhead, 5 Halloween, 3, 4 Nightmare Before Christmas. Is it Halloween or is it Christmas?
Yeah, it's both.
People love
Trick
Tim
or
Burton
Treat.
movies.
Number 2 Hocus Pocus.
Great movie.
Number 1 Halloween.
Okay, listen,
1978.
hang on a second. Hang on a second. The fact that Ernest Scared Stupid is 15th on this list instead of number 1 with a friggin' bullet is a
There's
travesty.
What about the Charlie Brown Halloween movie?
Well, Great Pumpkin?
Yeah.
It's a TV show though. It's a
Oh,
30-minute
so
show.
good.
It's a good show.
I saw Ernest Scared Stupid in the theaters.
I love that movie. Is that the one with the troll? No, that's when he
No.
goes camping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he goes camping. That boy, by the way, that troll haunted my dreams for years.
Right.
So we got Dr. David Chow coming up next. Dr. David Chow actually has been my doctor before when I had a knee issue, and he weighed me one time and gave me one of those looks like,
Yeah, it's not going well.
no wonder why your knee broke, because it can't carry you.
It's the worst when you're at the doctor's office and you get on the scale with
So
the
much
weights,
judgment.
and then you're like, "Oh God, please don't have to slide that up one notch." No.
All
I
of a
would
sudden,
love
yeah, the big one at the bottom.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, my doctor actually one time said, "Ooh, you're a plump fella." I was like, "Thank you for that, doc."
I would be proud if Doc weighed me these days, because I'm down in the 220s, which is not something that I've been able to say since I've lived in San Diego for the last 6.5 years. And I'm in the 220s right now. I stepped on the scale this morning at 228, and I feel amazing, looking better every day. Kendall, when our original wedding date, which was during COVID, so it got pushed back, but she bought me a pair of swim trunks that were clearly too small for me, saying, "Hey, this might motivate you to lose some weight before the wedding." Well, I didn't. I was a fat boy at the wedding. But last night, man, we got in the jacuzzi and I was wearing those swim trunks. It was the first time since she bought them that I've been able to fit in them.
The funniest thing is, so Fletch walks in here and he goes, and I was posing like this. She's like, "Kendall, look how these are fitting."
So she asked if I wanted to get in the jacuzzi, and I'll never say no. I love a good coos. But then I walked out of the bedroom and I was like, "Recognize these?" And they're pink with flamingos on them, so I looked really hot.
Good.
But it's all thanks to SDFatLoss.com and our friends Wayne and Chloe over there at SDFatLoss.com. Give them a call, set up your free consultation. It's the easiest decision you can make, and it's going to make you feel better, look better, be healthier. It'll stop your snoring. That's another side effect that I've gotten. I no longer snore, and that makes everything better at home. So get on over to SDFatLoss.com, set up your free consultation, start losing the weight today.
If you want to look hot like Fletch,
Yes.
SCFatLoss.com. And speaking of hot guys, Dr. David Chow
The
joins
hottest.
us. I mean, the hottest. He's going to join us on stream. So if you're watching us on YouTube, Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, you're going to see his smiling face this morning on Halloween ahead of the trade deadline. Doc David Chow updates us on the injuries across the league. That's next.
Let's get a injury report with Dr. David Chow coming up next.
This update is presented by DraftKings Fantasy Sports. Monday Night Football. Lions beat the Raiders 26-14. Jameer Gibbs, 189 yards and a rushing touchdown in the game. Week 8 in the books. Week 9 gets going Thursday Night Football. Titans Steelers in Pittsburgh. NFL trade deadline has been quiet. It is today at 1 o'clock. Locally, Aztecs basketball played their exhibition game last night at Viejas Arena, fresh off that national championship run. Aztecs beat Cal State San Marcos 81-50. Non-conference schedule will begin next Monday. Fullerton coming to town. That officially opens up the 2023-2024 season. And in the World Series, Rangers win Game 3 in Arizona last night, 3-1. They take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 in Arizona tonight at 5:03. Check out what DraftKings has to offer this season with Code Sports, because life's more fun when you're in on the action. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com for details.
Happy Halloween. Big Rich, TD, and Fletch here. San Diego Sports 760 and the Warrior Foundation Freedom Station Give-a-thon. It's a day we get to say thank you to our local Warriors by raising money to send ill and injured service members home for the holidays. Be listening Thursday, November 9th to our special programming all day long. It's brought to you in part by Unicorn Jewelry and Watch Boutique and the West Automotive Group. Now, every single week, we have to take a look at, what happened in the NFL as far as injuries go and who's going to be in, who's going to be out, what's going on there. And we bring on the expert, as always, Dr. David Chow. Doc, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing good. We're doing good. You know, we're very concerned, though. A few injuries around the NFL here that are causing all kinds of problems. I mean, out in Kansas City, do you have any update? Patrick Mahomes apparently was suffering from the flu. That's always, you always get sick when you have a loss, right?
Yeah, well, obviously it was reported before the loss, but in any case, this heading from week 8 into week 9, there are 11 potential teams with backup quarterbacks that are going to start games. And guess what? The Chiefs are not one of the 11. Patrick Mahomes is fine, but there are 11 other teams. So over a third of the teams potentially will have backup quarterbacks, including the Thursday matchup. It's not going to be Ryan Tannehill. It's going to be Will Levis. That's a little bit hiding behind health, because I think Tannehill could play with his high ankle. He played 2 series in London after it. It's now going to be close to 3 weeks. But when the rookie throws 4 touchdowns, he gets the next start. Ryan Tannehill, take your time a little bit. Mitch Trubisky, he started in Chicago before, but he's the backup in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett is unlikely to play with his rib issue. So it's a battle of 2, quote, backups for Thursday's game. And, there's 9 others to talk about in terms of what's out there. And, from Matthew Stafford, big deal. It's been confirmed what we said in game about ulnar collateral ligament. He's already had surgery once on that. Justin Fields still out multiple weeks. We can go on and on. Deshaun Watson probably needs 3 full practices before the Browns will trust him to play. I mean, the list we can continue, and we didn't even cover like Daniel Jones cleared before the game. Let me ask Rich, have you ever seen a team doctor or a team evaluate a player who's been out a couple weeks before a Sunday game to clear him for contact, but then not play in the game? I mean, those things happen on the Monday injury checks. What happened there?
Yeah, it's strange. And you know what? I think some of it, obviously, this, Doc, is reality, and some of it's gamesmanship. I think some of it, you're just trying to stretch these things out all the way up until game time to make it seem like there's an actual decision being made. Meanwhile, everybody in house knows what the story actually is.
Well, I agree with you. I hear all the time, and I see pundits and reporters say game time decision, even true game time decision. Look, the bottom line is this. Are there times where there is a pregame workout? Yes, but that's to confirm that this player will play, or that's to confirm that this player won't be able to play. I don't know in my 17-year career with the Chargers, we ever had a situation where we don't know. Let's see what happens on Sunday morning. You always knew. You just, of course, you confirm it, right, to make sure, but you always knew what was likely to happen. And so you're definitely right there.
Doc, you mentioned all the quarterbacks that either went down with injuries last week or have something nagging that might keep them out this week. But one who might be on the return is Kyler Murray. I look across fantasy football apps this morning. He has projected points for this week. Does that make sense in terms of the time frame for him to come back and make a play this week?
Well, first of all, when he does come back, he will not be 100% yet, right? He had ACL and MCL meniscus repair. Could he have played last week? Yes, from the pocket. But do you really want Kyler Murray from the pocket? I think it's going to be Clayton Tune. And if you can somehow, use that to your information to your advantage, great. He's got fantasy props. If you want to book the unders on him right now, I mean, I don't think he's going to play. Here's why. First of all, he's got another week of his practice window. So there's no rush to activate him. Secondly, you didn't play at home against Baltimore. Why are you going to play on the road against the Cleveland Browns, who have a pretty good defense? Wouldn't you rather play him at home the following week against Atlanta? Not that Atlanta's nothing, but and give him the full 3 weeks. I think, as Rich points out, that's just gamesmanship. And the coach didn't lie. Jonathan Gannon said, look, it's not going to be Josh Dobbs. If Kyler progresses, he'll be the starter. But he's not going to progress. They're not going to push him. And if he can, it'll be Clayton Tune. So he's telling you it's Clayton Tune.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment 100%. Dr. David Chow joining us, Pro Football Doc on X, also SICScore.com. That's SICScore.com. Sports Injury Central is where you're going to find all of this injury analysis for your betting, for your fantasy football. I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes, not an injury, an illness. He had the flu that was reported before the game. I kind of feel like overall, and I want to return to this for a second. I kind of feel like overall in the NFL, we're seeing all these teams suddenly really Johnny on the spot with their illness assessments. And I forget what other team another illness was reported. Is this an overreaction to what happened with the Atlanta Falcons and Bijan Robinson? Like, is it because they are potentially going to be fined a substantial amount of money? Is that the reason why all of a sudden we're seeing illness pop up on these injury reports in mass?
Well, I think that has something to do with it, right? We're prisoners of the moment. Obviously, there was lots of discussion on Bijan Robinson and what happened there in Atlanta the previous week. By the rules, you're supposed to report all this stuff. And there's no question that the Chiefs would have been fined if they didn't report it and all of a sudden Patrick Mahomes couldn't play. His illness got worse. So that's all they're protecting against there. I think it's a reminder of the rules. The rules haven't changed, but having come through the COVID era where, look at the prisoners of the moment. And this is not a political statement. If you turn back the clock and now you had flu-like symptoms, is anyone asking, did he take a COVID test?
No.
And I'm not being political about it. I'm just being prisoners of the moment. Look, and other prisoners of the moment. Now we're talking about, should Brock Purdy have been cleared for concussion again? During the COVID era, I didn't hear any of you got jacked hits, and no one was complaining about concussions. Last year, we were complaining about Tua. Now we're complaining about Brock Purdy. But during the COVID, it's like that was what's going on there, what was going on there. So I think we're all a little bit prisoners of the moment, and I think this served as a reminder to teams that you're supposed to do this reporting.
Hey, Doc, Kenny Pickett got a rib injury. He's a game time decision, or at least that's what they're saying out there in Pittsburgh for this Thursday. If they didn't have a Thursday game, he had a couple more days, would he be playing?
I don't think so. I think that, look, he did not return to that Sunday game. The Steelers PR said he was likely or going to, and then they flipped and said he wasn't. What that tells me is either the rib block because of cartilage injury didn't work well enough, or he decided against it. Either one is fine. It's his prerogative. But if he didn't return to the game Sunday, how is he going to heal from that rib cartilage injury for Thursday? It's not going to happen. Believe that will be Trubisky versus Levis.
Last question for you, and it's off of football into the world of baseball. An oblique strain for Adolis Garcia, Texas Rangers hero from game one. He's had a good postseason for the Rangers. Now, we saw Christian McCaffrey bounce back relatively quickly from an oblique strain. How much different is that in baseball for a hitter?
Very, very different. Big deal different. And here's the baseline difference. 85% in the healthy in the NFL come week 9 is a good week. 85% in baseball in the regular season means you're on the IL. And I'm not calling baseball players soft. It's just differences in what it is. You saw Max Scherzer leave the game. He got a ball drilled off his lower back. He probably had some spasm. If this were the game of football, he'd be playing. Not calling him soft. I'm saying the demands of what the sport is. You don't want him to hurt his elbow or shoulder and be a little off. It's a finite game in baseball. This is a big deal, and I am not saying Garcia is going on the injured list because this is the World Series. You would never do that. But if this were in the regular season, I would expect him to hit the 15-day IL. This is not the regular season. Will he play? We don't know. Will he try to? Probably. But his power numbers are going to be affected. He hit the walk-off home run in game 1 of the World Series, and he had 8 home runs so far this postseason. That's not going to be the same going forward in terms of what the Rangers will have out there with Garcia.
Doc, quickly before we let you go, you got to help our guy TD out here. In our fantasy football league, he's played David Montgomery the last 2 weeks, and he obviously has not started once. Is he going to play this week for Travis?
I guarantee you he will not play this week.
Okay, all right. So
100%. You want to know why?
They're on a bye.
Look at the schedule. He's on a bye this week. The Lions are on a bye. Okay.
Right.
I mean, the next game he will play, but obviously, after that big performance by Jahmyr Gibbs, what's he going to do? But by the way, let me give you a hint there, TD. SICScore.com. Sick Insights got it all up there for you. We will help you out there. Okay.
Nicely done.
Sports Injury Central. You could get a doc on Pro Football Doc on X. And we do this every week at 8:30, and we appreciate your time. Dr. David Chow, thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There he goes. There he goes. Doc, you know what? TD's on a permanent bye week.
Well, I'm playing him this week.
It was kind of like, this is not working well. Just let it roll. That's what happened.
I'm thinking he's gonna have a come around one of these days.
How would you like to win a 4-pack of tickets to Snow Jam?
I'd like it.
I would.
We got a 4-pack of tickets to Snow Jam 2023 at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. It's happening November 10th through the 12th, but you got to be caller number 4. Okay, well, as you hold up the numbers, caller number 4 right now, 844-570-1360 if you'd like to win some Snow Jam tickets. So, there we go. Phone lines light up. And also, there was a very patriotic national anthem sung, I guess.
We got to get to that. There's no question. That was to kick off the NBA season. I want to say was that in Dallas? We got to get to that. That's absolutely hysterical. Speaking of the NBA season, though, it's up and running, and so is the NFL season. And if you're following these games like we are, and closely at that, Underdog Fantasy is the perfect way to pair yourself with all the action on the hardwood and on the gridiron. They got this pick'em game. It's fantasy, but you can win real money. Let me explain how it works. You pick between 2 and 5 players, higher or lower on their stat. You can win up to 20 times your money in a single game by going 5 for 5. You could also do like these two player pick'ems. They're super easy to win. I've won a ton of them this season already. You get 3 times your money. Go to their easy to use mobile app or underdogfantasy.com. Sign up with promo code XTRA. Bob Armstrong, one of our listeners, he signed up with promo code XTRA. He had his first deposit doubled. He's up to $800 last time he checked in with me on my Instagram DMs. So congrats to Bob. But Underdog Fantasy will double your first deposit up to $500 now with promo code XCRA. Also, new customers will have a mystery surprise special pick live in their Pick'em lobby. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code XTRA. Your first deposit of $10 or more can be doubled up to $500. That literally means if you put $500 in this app, they'll double it up to $1,000. If you put $250, they'll double it up to $500. You put in 10, they'll double it to 20. Doesn't matter what amount. And then you get that special pick in the Pick'em lobby. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play. 1-800-GAMBLER is the number to call, or ncpgambling.org. Coming up next, Flavor Flav. We thought in the early 2000s he would find love on reality television. Well, he's found his new love. It's singing. And he did it in the middle of the court at an NBA game, and it was majestic. That's next.
Mm. Mm, 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 it's Big Rich TD and Fletch. It's Halloween. We are celebrating Halloween the best way we know how with giving away some Lainey Wilson tickets. So we still have that pair, and that pair is going to be given away in exactly, wait for it, 3 minutes. So at 8:56 on the dot, we're going to give away Lainey Wilson tickets. You got to be calling number 7 at 8:56. Not yet. You got 3 minutes. That way, people listening on the free iHeartRadio app have a chance at these. But she's going to be at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 23rd. LiveNation.com if you want to buy them, or 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Call in and get them. Thought it would be. Yeah.
So Flavor Flav.
Look,
Who did it better, Fergie or Flava Flav?
Flava Flav actually was better than
I
Fergie.
do think you got to give it to
Yeah.
Flava.
I mean,
You
at
want some
least Flava Flav, it sounded like the national anthem.
Yeah. So he's singing the national anthem at the Milwaukee Bucks game, and there's a lot of people, I'm sure, in the arena who know who Flava Flav was. But the way he's dressed, like you assume, like, he's famous for sure. I probably,
Sunglasses, dark in here.
yeah, exactly. He's wearing a giant chain. He always wears the clock. You know what time it is. And he's just singing his damn heart out. Listen,
I don't think Flava Flav is known for singing. So when you have the guy come in to sing the national anthem, which is, I mean, a fairly difficult song to sing, you have to expect it's not going to be great. So to me,
Right when
Fergie.
loses it.
Oh, dude, yeah, dude. My favorite thing was when somebody defended her, and then all of a sudden the Golden State Warriors they put out almost like a diss track where they were playing a mix up. Like it was a mashup of Fergie's song, and they were all dancing in the locker room to it. It was hysterical. All right, so Flavor Flav, I will say this. I want him to do this more often. In fact, at a Padres game, I'm going to request Flavor Flav sings the national anthem.
1,000,000%.
He's just singing his heart out. Like you can't say he wasn't trying.
Dude, yeah, he tried. He hit notes.
He sounded like Flavor Flav. What do you want from the guy?
It was good.
Yeah,
I'm going to say it was good.
Hey, happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Call now.
Yeah,
Call now.
You want to win Lainey Wilson tickets? Call number 7. You're going to get them. Meanwhile, I am going to hope for some Milky Way and Tootsie Rolls out in the great wide world of Halloween trick-or-treating.
Well, thank you to Dr. David Chow for joining us and giving Travis the great advice not to start David Montgomery for a 3rd week in a row.
By the way, the only trade that happened during this show was Montez Sweat to the Bears. The Bears defensive ends this season, 5 sacks, 11 TFLs, 13 QBs hits. Montez Sweat so far this season, 6.5 sacks, 10 TFLs, 11 QB hits.
But why the
Big
Bears?
addition.
I don't really
Why the
know.
Bears?
Well, we'll talk
doesn't
about
make
it.
sense.
We'll talk about it tomorrow. The Hurts next.